Thinking Tackle Podcast.
What was that story you were on about the Angling Times guy?
Oh, Richard. I'm thinking back. I'm sure it was Richard Lee talking about the shaving and that.
Yeah.
What you mean? Yeah. He was over on mine with Martin Bowler fishing my little private bit of the Weirpool and taking a few photographs and one thing and another. Martin was going about his business, catching a few fish. And we just got into the subject of having a clean shave.
Like you do, yeah.
Yeah. And Martin was kind of earwigging like what we were talking about. But I don't think he quite knew the exact area we was talking about. And obviously we was talking about having a little shave up down below.
So Richard Lee, shaved his whole body, did he?
I don't know about his whole body, but
Right.
he definitely. The conversation we were having was just about having a little shave up downstairs.
Yeah.
And Martin was like earwigging as if to say, "What the hell are they talking about?" Martin's got hair out here at the time, looked like Stig of the Dump.
Yeah.
And he was, I think he was a little bit like shocked. And then me and Richard's like quite standard. Yeah, that's what I do. Have a good old shave up, clean up down there, make sure everything's all in order. And Martin was like, "What are you two going on about?" He was astounded by our conversation.
I wonder how much that's changed Martin's life. Do you think now he's? Do you know what?
I think
I
he's a
need
lot
to
more
get the
clean
razor out.
shaver now, I think.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his hair's shorter now as
I think
well.
so,
isn't it?
yeah. I've not seen Martin for a long while now.
Right.
I was just seeing quite a bit.
Getting on the old shaving stuff. I get a bit hairy at times, right?
Yeah, you look at your arms are like gorillas, aren't they?
Well, not at the moment.
Joking.
Well, they used to be.
Mine blinking all. I actually don't like hairy arms, and I don't know. I don't like hairy chest either because my attitude is I train all the time and it makes you sweat, doesn't it?
It does.
Right, I'm the exact same. I don't like a hairy chest either.
I hate it, mate.
You don't like a hairy head either.
No, I don't. But that wasn't my choice.
Yeah, same
Clean
here.
shaved, Tug.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I'm the same. I think, with athletes and stuff, it's like, it's you sweat more.
Makes you faster.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know, but
Well, I had it from when I was doing more jiu-jitsu and that, and I used to, when you do some sparring at the end, it's all like wrestling and heavy base and stuff like that. When you got somebody on top of you who's got a proper sweaty, hairy chest on your head, it's like, oh, come on, mate, do us a favour.
Nothing worse.
But I heard you sweat more without it. Yeah, how does that work?
I think probably I would have thought the sweat soaks it up and you're less aware of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's nothing worse than if you've got a nice shirt on and you've got a hairy chest and you just sweated I don't know. I just don't. I've been shaving my chest I don't care what anyone thinks. I've been shaving it for years now. I train hard to try and have a good chest, and I don't want it covered in a big coconut mat.
You want people to see it, yeah, of course. My girlfriend used to like a hairy chest, actually.
Yeah.
But we went to Dubai one year, and it's like, flipping out, my back's like a rug. It's like I can't.
But nothing on the front.
Well, no, it's a bit all over, but it's like I don't fancy walking on a beach, with a chest like this.
Can't
and
get a good suntan, can you? Covered in hair.
No, exactly. So no, you might as well get a proper tan when you're out
So
there.
what, you've been shaving your arms up then?
Well, no, she used to wax my back.
All right.
And that was. You ever tried that?
I think I've had a go of it. Yeah, I don't have got a hairy back anyway, but I think I've put some wax on my arms before and pulled a bit of the hairs off just to see what it's like.
Right, yeah, that's pain. She used to flipping love doing that as well.
I'll bet.
You can imagine, yeah. And obviously initially, and depending on what sort of mood she was in as well, it seemed to sort of vary in intensity as well. Yeah, so I went to Dubai with a fully sort of shaved, well, not shaved, waxed back and stuff, and
looking really smooth.
Yeah,
Well, you're bald from the eyebrows down at the moment, aren't you?
I am at the moment, actually. Actually, do you like razors? So you do shave a little bit?
Yeah, I
then?
shave. Like face, you mean, or?
Well, no, the body.
Yeah. I've had a shave this morning to look nice and fresh for this, but generally I'll grow stubble till I can't bear it anymore, and then I'll shave it off. And while I'm there, I'll just quickly give the old chest a quick flick over as well.
Yeah, you might as well do it all, hadn't you?
Yeah.
We've got just the device, maybe, Tobe, haven't we, for this?
We have, yeah.
Device. Have you ever heard of a shaver?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Body shaver.
Electric
shaver.
Oh, yeah, modern stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That modern. So, you don't want to use razor blades and stuff nowadays,
no, I
do you?
suppose.
So that would be, Actually, we're being sponsored by Manscaped.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they make shavers and boxer shorts as well, Tobe, isn't it? We've got the pants and everything as well.
You told me you haven't tried yours on, mate. I'm telling you, they are mega comfy.
Why is that? Why are they so comfy?
Well, they've got these, like, Jerry, you'll know from training and stuff like that. If you've got, like, your like cotton underwear or stuff like that. And after you sweat a bit, starts to rub, chafe, or ride up, and by the end of your workout, it's just dead uncomfortable. But these are they're almost like bike shorts. They don't ride up. If you sweat, it just wicks it up straight away. It's dry, and they're just, honestly, mate, I'm sold.
I might have to try those.
I've not tried them, but I will definitely look into them.
You said for you, mate, they'd be perfect for your yoga.
Manscaped have kindly sent us some, so I should try them out. I'll try them in a yoga class.
They'd be good for your yoga.
They'd be good when you're doing the downward facing dog.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Hopefully nothing's riding up then.
It might make it a little bit less painful, maybe.
Maybe. You might be able to last longer.
Yeah.
In that position,
So the podcast, we sold out, Tobe, haven't we? The podcast now is being sponsored by Manscaped.
Oh, great.
Which is a bit of an accolade for us, really, because they sponsor Rogan as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah. They sponsor everybody. They sponsor the UFC as well.
So, yeah, UFC, Joe Rogan, Thinking Tackle podcast.
That's it. That's who we hang around with now.
Joe's your mate.
We're mixing with the big boys.
But they are
certainly are.
Yeah.
They are good. But you've given your... I mean, I've used my razor and that, but you've given yours a right old run in, haven't you?
Well, you said that, Jerry. I mean, if you look at me, I've given the razor a good going over, and it seems to work pretty damn well, actually. That's a good close shave.
Are they like mains operated, but can they charge up and?
Yeah, you get a charger with them and stuff.
Yeah, that's what you want, isn't it?
They're fully waterproof as well. I use mine in the shower.
Blimey. So when you're on the beach, you could be in the sea having a shave.
Anyway, the podcast is being sponsored by Manscaped, and if anybody wants a Manscaped product, the code is Korda. That's in capital letters. Korda capital letters. Is there a 20% discount, Tobe?
20% discount and free delivery.
Free delivery as well. So capital letters and 20% discount, and it seems to work all right with us. It works well on Toby's head as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
get a good close shave, mate.
Yeah. So there you go, Manscaped.
Sounds good.
Anyway, we've sold out, Jerry, but that's what happens when you're successful. So how are you anyway?
I'm fine, thank you. Fine. It's lovely to be here.
It's nice to have you. Yeah. Your first podcast in a few months. So,
yes, like you said, you've not done one for a while now, have you?
We're fresh and ready to go now.
Roaring.
Do you watch the shows?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've seen a few of them.
Yeah,
very good.
Do you know what happens at the start of the podcast?
Go on, enlighten me.
I asked you for a nice gift. We don't go anywhere until we receive a nice gift.
I've bought one, and I was trying to think for ages what to bring, and I noticed you got various gifts on the table there. It's quite a tricky one, really, because obviously it's got to be something that's means something to me, something that's personal, something that means a lot. And what I'm about to give you is a really good talking point. Something I'm really proud of doing. And I know you're going to ask me questions about it anyway, because absolutely everyone does. Nothing to do with fishing, but it's something I'm proud of, something I've done. I've told this story over and over and over again, and I feel like I'm really sort of like doing it too much, but people still keep asking me about it. So if they're going to carry on asking, they obviously want to know. So I will tell them. So this is what I've got here.
Oh, that's lovely. Right, okay. So we can see that in front of the camera there, Tobe.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, well, that's a picture of... I mean, the star, obviously, in that picture is Jerry Hammond.
Of course.
And that guy stood next to you.
Yeah, I just met him on set, and he looked good with me being a German, and he's got the Yank kit on. So I said, there, mate, any chance of a quick picture? I was very lucky to get that picture because there was about 1,000 people queuing up, and everyone else got turned away, and I got only probably 2 of us got pictures with him.
Right, okay. For anybody that doesn't know, that person there is Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And that's a great picture. And
I had it engraved at the bottom.
Tom and Jerry. Brilliant.
Well, I didn't know what to bring, and I know you're going to ask me about all of that, so...
Yeah. Did he ask you for your autograph as well?
Yeah. I said to him, we'll have to be quick, because all the ADs were coming over and telling us to break it up, To be honest, he didn't do autographs. He's a lovely, lovely guy. And it's not the sort of thing he'd done, photographs. You can imagine he'd be doing them all day long. And as soon as one person... we weren't allowed cameras on set, but I was really in with the military advisors. And one of them, a guy called John Barnett, who was in the Navy, I think, the American Navy. He was a military advisor there. I got on really well with John. So I slipped in my camera. He's allowed to take photos, for whatever reasons. And... I said to him, I had to plan it. We'd just done the final scene in Saving Private Ryan where they're on the bridge and the Germans are attacking the bridge and a couple of Mustangs come in and it all kicks off. And right when the director shouted cut, there was a moment when Tom was just walking back from the bridge and I went, now, go. And he ran with the camera and I went, Tom, can I have a photo, please? And he just walked up and went, psh. I think one of my other mates caught wind of it. He ran over and got a photo off my camera as well. And then about 600 people started swarming him. And they was all going, that's it, everyone finished, that's it. And I was lucky to get away with that picture. I mean, it's just unique.
Do you have a lot of contact with him when you were on set? Were you with him every day then?
He was a real lovely bloke, down to earth, always had a chat with the lads. If he come, if we was, you got to imagine, this film set was massive in Hatfield. It was huge. It was a whole town recreated in Hatfield Studios over on the fields, and phenomenal. And there'd be so much going on around what they're actually filming in the background. And if you're anywhere near the front where it's going on, you would obviously be in voice distance from Tom Hanks and hearing him talking and chatting, and he was like he talks on TV all just chatting away to people.
How does he work with the crew? Is there a lot of input between him and the directors?
I think him and Spielberg very good mates.
Because Steven Spielberg film, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're very good mates, and I'm sure they are out for lunch all the time, and they're just good mates. They more or less must have sorted everything out way before the film set, come into life. Everyone's got their favourite Tom Hanks film, haven't they? Toby, are you a fan?
Yeah, of course I am.
Favourite Tom Hanks film?
Mate, to be fair, probably that, to be honest. Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan.
Great film.
Mine would be Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump's brilliant, isn't it?
I mean, it's
Green Mile.
Green Mile's
That's
amazing.
film.
Oh my God, that makes the hit.
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Big.
Made me laugh, that one. I had to watch that a few times.
And the good thing with Big is as well, it's like
it's just funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great movie, isn't it? And it's one of his early films as well, isn't it?
Yeah, he's like a grown man, playing like a kid, And
Elizabeth Perkins in that as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, good old films he makes. Really good films, and obviously he's directing a lot now, isn't he?
Yeah.
To be fair, he's been in everything, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a bit like Tom Cruise, isn't he?
He's got to be one of the top actors in the world, isn't he?
Yeah, God, he's got to be. I mean, he's got to be one of the best paid. But I like his selection of roles. You can see that the guy likes to challenge himself.
Of course, he's in Toy Story 4, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in everything.
Right, he is in everything. But
I just watched one a little while ago. I can't remember what one it was.
What was the one with Meg Ryan as well? Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't Sleepless in Seattle, was it?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was something Calls, wasn't it? Where he's like a blind date over the phone with Meg Ryan. Yeah. No, there's so many Tom Hanks films.
It was like I say, it's a massive talking point. Something that I got involved in, and lasted 5 years.
Yeah.
Doing that, and that was the first job I'd done.
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan. So it wasn't a bad one to start with. And at the very end of the film, the scene just after Tom Hanks gets shot, you got the guy called Upham, Jeremy Davis. His name's Upham in the movie. He captures 3 or 4 Germans, and one of them was a guy they called Steamboat Willie. He was a guy that they captured earlier on in the film and let him free. He joined up with his unit, and he ends up shooting Tom Hanks on the bridge. And Jeremy Davis, as they're all about to run, Jeremy Davis captures them all, points a gun at them, and I'm stood next to him with my hands up, which is quite incredible, really. I mean, I've got Spielberg saying to me, right, what's your name? Right, Jerry, you stand there, I want you there. And he was choreographing the scene, and I'm being told what to do by Steven Spielberg. It was quite surreal.
What was Steven Spielberg like?
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it probably all went over the top of my head at the time,
But when you're in the presence of... We've got a little bit in common, actually. We'll talk about that later in the show. But when you're in the presence of those sort of people, once it's a day-to-day thing, and they are just people again, aren't they? That's what... Everybody's got this, conception... what is... But when you're actually... The mystique is when you're not... When you're watching them on the screen, isn't it? When they're not really real.
No.
But when they're there, they become normal people again, don't they?
It's weird. I mean, you see them, and you just got to remember that they are normal people. Yeah. They're like you and me. They're no different. I actually was on... I can't remember the name of the film, whether it was Love Actually or one of them films, and I stood next to Robert Redford at a bar ordering a drink. And I got Robert Redford stood next to me. Christ, my mother-in-law loves him. You know what I mean? And to me, it was just a job. I was Robert Redford. You know what I mean? Brilliant.
Amazing.
There's loads and loads and loads of stuff I could tell you about all that. There's just so many things that happened.
You've got a really varied interest in life, not just with carp fishing, Jerry. It'd be good. You said as well, actually, when we were talking the other day, you done talk sport as well.
Yeah.
And you said what it was like on, because I said to you, is it live?
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was
talk sport.
Not talk sport.
No, you're on about tight lines.
Tight lines.
Yeah.
Tight lines.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise it was actually going out. With Keith. Yeah.
I was telling you about when the cameras were just about to roll, how good he was.
Yeah, I mean, I was, and you said as well that he went into a conversation in like a minute to go for. Go on.
Yeah, we was sitting I was sitting next to Keith. He was there, and I was sort of there, and all the cameras are in front of us, and there's a clock that's ticking away to tell when it's about to go live. And he was fiddling around with a few bits of paper and putting them in it, taking them out. I think that might have been a bit of his script or something, and he kept putting them in the drawer and shutting the drawer. And I'm watching the clock in the back going 3 minutes, and then someone will shout out, 3 minutes, Keith.
How nervous were you?
Pretty nervous, because you just don't know what he's going to say. We didn't talk about anything. What actually happened was, we're sitting there like me and you, and the people in the background are going 3 minutes, and he's not even acknowledging them. And he's going, I was over Carthagena a couple of weeks back. He said, are them chubs still there? And I was like, yeah, 2 minutes. I'm like, Christ, we're going to be on in a minute. 2 minutes. I don't even know what we're going to do. And he's gone, he said, I used to always flick a nice old slug at them. He said, they love a slug over there. He said, my favourite bait for chub. He said, blah, blah. He's going on about everything. Like, 30 seconds, Keith. And I'm thinking, come on, hurry up. It's just a start, And right at the last sort of 2 seconds, he's still talking about, fishing over at Carthagena. And they've gone, and action. He's gone, right, today we've got Jerry Hammond with us in the studio. I was like, oh, my God, how did he do that,
Yeah, but that's all right for Keith, but it's like for the guest as well that doesn't know what the hell's going on. I mean, that is like...
But he's very good, because he led you straight into the next conversation, like what you're doing with me, I suppose. And he was professional. I was quite impressed. I think I've done it twice. Can't remember. I'm sure I went up there twice. Yeah.
And they just invite you on the show. They don't tell you what they're going to talk about or anything. And
I think there was a few bits and pieces that we may discuss before I went, but it wasn't sort of no real script, A lot of the stuff they had there I was doing in between, so say they'd be talking about this and talking about that, and then it'd be, what do you reckon on this, and it'd involve you, and you might have a few photos with you to show them and stuff like that. But it was good.
What about the segment? So the segments where they go, they're doing their location shots. So are you actually sat there in the studio watching that with Keith while that's going on?
Like a screen. Yeah.
Right. And can you talk to each other while all that's going on, or?
I think you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a proper scheduled. They had a set thing that they were going to cover. And I was there.
So he's not reading from an autocue or anything?
I'm
asking you too many questions.
I don't know.
I'm just a bit curious.
No, I just don't. I don't remember. I can't remember. I was so worried about what I was doing. I wasn't really taking a lot of notice. All I know is that he was very professional and very good at what he done, right to the last second. You imagine sitting there, you've got a second to go, and he's still talking about chub eating slugs. And I can't think about that. I'm thinking about what's he going to ask me once the 30 seconds is up, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done a good job as well. I've seen a lot of your YouTube stuff over the years as well. YouTube. But you also done you brought a DVD out, The Compulsive Angler, as well.
Yeah.
What sort of what prompted you to do that?
Me and my good friend Neil. We just decided to put some money into making a DVD. It's at the time when DVDs were still pretty popular.
Yeah.
Like now, everything's on YouTube and on the internet, and we wanted, like, over at the fishery, we wanted to set up an underwater scene. That's how we started. So Neil's an electrician.
Oh, was that inspired by anyone in particular?
Maybe something to do with something I watched a few years back. So what we'd done, bearing in mind, neither of us had any inkling or idea of what to do. We'd never done anything like it, and we got in touch with a camera guy, and I can't remember how we did, but a guy called Kevin Law. I think he'd done some of the early stuff with Korda as one of the other cameramen. I think he works for Sky, covering a bit of sport like rugby and stuff like that. Anyway, he had access to a proper camera, like what they use for the TV, and he had his own one, so we had two cameras, and we just went about setting up an underwater scene on the fishery. My mate Neil, that we was doing it together, he ran the armoured cable up to the top swim, we call it the pipe swim, set up a big 2-man bivvy with all the screens in there, and we've got an underwater camera in situation, and it was a fishing situation. The lakes were open. It weren't like it was closed season or anything like that. We fed the spot. The camera that we got wasn't brilliant. It had all like little spotlights around it. We had to tape them all up because it was just lighting up everything like underwater.
How did the fish react to that?
The lights or the camera?
Well, both, but probably the lights.
Well, we got rid of the lights. We just taped it over, and the actual camera was pretty good. We started introducing the bait, and the fish started turning up, and we was getting regular fish in front of the camera every day. And the idea was to later on introduce a rod and a bait, and try and catch one for the camera. And one of the characters in the lake is a linear in there. We call it the parrot linear. Very, very, very old slate grey zip linear, beautiful carp. And that fish was in and out every day. Loved its food. It fed in a certain way. We noticed it always fed and then headed to the surface. And it's obviously how he used to get caught, like on a choddy or whatever, because he would always pick his bit of. He was obviously afraid, and maybe he's heading off to the surface was a way of getting away from the baited spot. So there was a lot to learn from what we were seeing, and all the characters were turning up. And the only trouble we had was the monitor, or not the monitor, but the DVR, do you call it, what we were filming with, was not the right film speed. It was filming in.
You said about the speed.
It was 2.5 and it was filming in 1 point. Is that right, Toby?
Yeah, that's the shut speed.
Yeah, it was filming at the wrong speed. So when we looked back at the actual footage, it was all shuddering, like going like that. So we got in touch with a mate, Winston. I don't know Winston.
We still work with him, don't we?
Yeah.
And Winston kind of shut it all and closed it all up. So we got something back from all the input. I mean, we were filming just the underwater bit for over 2 weeks.
Right.
And,
different lakes as well.
We went everywhere. That was just a start over at Carthagena, and it was funny because I wanted to catch this big linear. So you see me flicking a rod out for the night, and first thing in the morning I've had a take, and I thought, there she is. That'd be the linear, and it wasn't. It was a common of about £35, and I thought, right. Well, it's still great, but where was the linear? I didn't realise it got caught up the other end of the lake before it come down to me.
Really?
So it had already been on the bank, and that was the start. And then what we done. We filmed up until they spawned in the lake, and obviously we closed the fishery when they spawned, so that was the end of that part of the DVD. And then I think I got invited over to Kevin Nash's place because there was, I think it was either 24 hours or 48 hours come up. Tim Paisley was fishing at the time, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to go over there and maybe interview Tim as well while I'm there.
Yeah.
And it just kicked off for me. I think
that was on the Church Lake.
Yeah, on the Church Lake, and I had 340s while I was there, which all made good footage.
Well, the Church Lake was the ultra syndicate water, was it? That was the one with the big, the big fish in it.
Yeah, not the Cops, but the Church Lake.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I managed to catch 3 really good carp, and that got all that on film. So that added to the final cut, and then went up to Peterborough to catch a leanie. When I fished Dave Menny's Lakes, Green Acres, and I caught a 40 common on camera. It all went really well, and between us we put together this DVD, and a friend of Neil's was in the advertising game. I showed you earlier the advertising that I got. It's just ridiculous.
Have we got any pictures there, Tape?
That's some advertisement, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is absolutely ridiculous, Jerry. I mean, so that was you said that was in the picture we're looking at now. That was in Liverpool.
What's the big?
Well, Toad went to university there.
It's the station. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to Google it because I use that station every couple of weeks. I don't recognise it. If that's behind,
have they got like an Excel centre there?
They have.
Or
what's the name of the arena there? It's not the MEM, is it?
No, it's the Echo Arena.
The Echo Arena.
They renamed it to the. Well, they renamed it, but nobody in Liverpool believes it.
Well, apparently, when all the buses are going past, looking up at this.
So we're looking at a picture. Sorry, we're looking at a picture on the screen. So that looks like central Liverpool, and that screen, that's got to be. Yeah. That's a 20-foot wide screen, isn't it?
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. We had one outside the Walthamstow Reservoirs. We had one outside Bowler's Tackle Shop. We had one up in London. I can't remember the area, but in the middle of London, a big digital one. And luckily for me and Neil, he's one of Neil's good friends, and he was one of my members on my lake. He
Bowlers angling.
Yeah, he put it all together for us. He had a bit of free space come up in his advertising, and he went, "Look, I'll put a couple of big billboards up for you."
Did you have to pay him then?
No, mate.
That would cost a fortune, Jerry.
I know.
And what was the response to if you were driving through central Liverpool, right? And you're looking at you think, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I mean, someone wrote about it in Anglers Mail or something. Said I was going down the road the other day and see a great big billboard of Jerry's DVD.
If you were a carp angler and you saw that, you'd almost crash, wouldn't you? Because it'd be like, what? Is this a dream?
You've got mainstream.
You just don't see that. You just don't see it.
You don't. So, do you think as a consequence of that, do you think you sold more DVDs because of that?
We done okay. We done it so professionally, really. We got a team of us at a show, one of the shows. We all had the Compulsive Angler T-shirts on. There's about 10 of us. We had a big screen up with a couple of loops, little clips from the DVD, and we marketed it pretty good. And we done the whole thing ourselves. Obviously, Kevin done all the editing and put it all together. So we can't take no credit for that. But me and Neil done more of the logistics and getting generators and bivvies and stuff set up and batteries charged and everything else. And I think, looking back, for the time, we were quite a professional little get-together. And you've got to watch it. You still ain't seen it, have you?
Well, we haven't got a DVD player to watch it.
No,
I've got the DVD over there, actually. How many of those DVDs did you sell?
We done 10,000 of them, I think.
And they all sold?
I think I got about 50 indoors.
Well, if anybody wants 60. One...
Yeah,
there's still a few available.
Honestly, I watched it
if you've got a DVD player.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I watched one in my clubhouse the other day because I hadn't seen it for a long while, and I actually got quite interested in it, and I thought that weren't bad. That actually weren't bad.
So, what did you learn from being able to watch these fish?
Well, just the whole build-up of the feeding situation, and like the tench turning up, and we ain't got a lot of tension in Carthagena, but they all turned up. So it just shows you what does go on when the lakes are open still, and how clever they are getting away with it. There's a fish that we got in there, a very, very old carp, probably 50 odd years old, called Sandy, and it never came out much. And it's just the way it fed. It was very, very low to the lake bed and pushing stuff aside, and you think, and I actually say in the DVD, I often wondered how a fish like Sandy gets away of not getting caught. 'Cause she's definitely on the bait, she's eating all the time, every time.
Sorry, so Sandy in Carthagena, when was the last time she was caught?
She came out last year.
Yeah.
It's about £40 now, but old, very old, but lovely looking carp.
Do you think that's just the shape of that fish and the way, or in that fish in its nature is just a more cautious feeder?
Very cautious, or is she being cautious or just feeding the only way she knows?
Exactly.
She was she wasn't upending and moving to the next bait and picking up. She was just like a barbel, like I've seen barbel in the Weirpool feeding, and there was a tin of sweet corn out there, and you can't see it feeding, but you just see all the sweet corn disappearing, like the yellow just disappears, where it's just feeding and open and shutting its gob. And she was like that. She's fed like a barbel. But then barbel, they just feed until they get hooked, don't they? But she somehow pushes the stuff away to the sides, and maybe she's feeding deeper down than the barbel. I don't know. But when you compare that one to the linear will take a couple of mouthfuls, you see its gills going, and then it heads to the surface. And I don't know why it does that. It's obviously afraid, or it's worried about rigs. Maybe. I don't know.
Wants to get off of the bait. It sees a bit of bait there and knows that it's danger and thinks...
Must do, but
needs to feed. It can't help itself.
Can't help but feed,
Exactly, yeah.
It must be that, because she was there every day, and every day she fed the same. Few mouthfuls, and she didn't always go right to the top, but she'd come off the bottom and drifted up,
So, watching the underwater stuff, I will watch your DVD at some point. I would have loved to have watched it anyway. The three elements to catching carp: rig, bait, or water temperature, or just a change in environment. Out of those three things, what could you say would be the most effective way of catching a carp after?
What, as into after watching that?
Yeah, whether you could have put a rig down there that would have made the difference, or whether you could have, or a baiting scenario that worked, or just that the weather at the right time changed enough for them to start feeding. Was there?
Well, they didn't hesitate in coming on the bait, and they're very shy carp on there.
Did you mix the bait up very much?
I think we put like a particle out, and then we was putting chops and a few boilies, just a general feed like. The tench, you get the proper feeding. It gets built up with the tench coming in.
Like the pyramid, like the Mike Wilson.
Yeah, that's it. And then like the big old carp started barging in and pushing the tench out of the way. And I think you're catching certain fish because of the way they fed, definitely on Carthagena. Maybe a certain rig would catch the linear, and maybe something right on the bottom would catch sandy,
But do you think then, though, you would almost have to, you're almost setting your stall up for an individual fish rather than just setting something up that's, likely to just...
Especially when you get a bit personal watching them like that.
Yeah.
You don't have that information when you turn up on Saturday or something, do you?
No.
You don't think, I'll be after so-and-so today because I know it feeds like this. You just don't know unless you're watching them like the way we were with a camera.
We've watched them in the water, actually, a few years back, and it's interesting. What we noticed was how much they migrated around the lake. You would see them at one end of the lake. There would be an area where you would always see them during the day.
Yeah.
And then they would, on one particular fish, got caught probably 3/4 of a mile away, a few hours later.
Crazy,
and
isn't it?
you learn that they are migrating, especially on those big pits as well.
Yeah.
They're using the snags during the day, and you tend to find the same fish in the same areas as well.
Definitely territorial, weren't
Yeah.
they?
You find that with the cameras as well, that it was the same fish coming back or different ones?
Yeah, it was the same sort of group. There were a lot of fish that never visited that area, so they do. I've noticed it on the lake anyway. You'll get teams of fish that live up one end and fish that live up the other end, and obviously at certain times we've had a fish in there years back called Double D. It was like the first 40-pounder in there. And it used to live under this bush, and we called it D's bush, Double D's bush. And you could sneak him through the back and sit there, and she'd be there. You very rarely ever see it come out of the bush, but when they were spawning, it'd get caught down the other end of the lake because he or she was there with all the rest of them waiting to do their ritual, And once it was caught, once they'd finished, it'd be back under that bush again.
Yeah.
A bit like Basil's bush, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but there's definitely some of them got there, especially in Carthagena. Like there's fish in there now. My good friend Jay, who works here, he caught a fish. I think it was last year. We called it Bubbles, and I've lived there 19 years, and I'd say it's been out, no more than 6 times, 7 times in 19 years. And you think, obviously, lives in a certain area to avoid capture, maybe. How does it get away with that?
Carthagena. We had Luke Stevenson on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was wondering actually when we done this show, because we hadn't spoken at that point. It's like, I hope Jerry doesn't mind us, because we done a lot about Carthagena, and those carp.
Oh, there it is.
Those carp are some of the best looking carp you're going to find anywhere, aren't they? You are. You've obviously run a very good fishery there, and those fish are immaculate.
They are.
How did you?
It's a mad looking place, that, isn't it?
That's my house there.
So the house is the one. So you've got the got the
mate, where's your house?
There. See the lock.
Yeah.
See the big willow there. The house there.
Wow.
It's by the weir pool. By the weir pool.
I'm a Pisces, and I had to live on water, didn't I?
Right. Okay. So everyone's
going to live on my own island. Look.
Well, you've nailed that, haven't you?
He's absolutely nailed it, Ted.
Yeah.
Right. So how the hell do you end up buying a house like that with that weir pool in front of you? Is famous as well, isn't it?
Yep.
Some of the biggest chub in the country live in that weir pool.
We still got the chub there, but you've got there's a big willow. Can you see the willow by my house?
Yeah.
Well, that willow, they all used to live under there, and they're safe because once they come up under the bridge, no one can fish for them. And people stand on the bridge like a gallery, like they'll stand there looking at these big 6-7 pound chub. And but they do come out and they do venture into the pool and they do get caught in the pool. But most of the time they spend their time there. People feed them. We used to feed them years ago, and I still feed them now. I'll have a 5 kilo bag of boilies in a little box and I'm just throwing it. I actually, for the first time since way before winter started, the water's actually slowed down enough for the chub to get back in there. And I threw a few handfuls out yesterday and they were there taking them. Big chub as well.
Are they the same chub?
Yeah, I would assume so. They can go quite a way down river.
Yeah.
And when the water's flowing, like it has been this previous winter, it's just not stopped. I mean, I got them feeding. I was going to really, really try and feed them up. I was feeding them kilos and kilos of boilies, and I was going to try and feed them up and fish for them at the end of the year. Why not? And just never had the chance. The flow has been pushing through, you know, unbelievably. If you stood in that water, you'd be gone. Like, you know, it was pushing like all winter, and it's still pushing through now. And we haven't even really had a lot of rain lately, and it's just slowed up enough for the chub to get back in there. Like, you know,
so you can walk to the end of your garden and see. I remember Matt Hayes and Martin Bowler done stuff there, didn't they, on their programmes?
Matt used to see that. This is an old picture.
Yeah.
Can you see that little white caravan there?
Yeah.
Matt Hayes used to live in there.
Really?
Literally, yeah. Because he used to ring me. I'm thinking about coming down next week, and he used to see where he is there, and where that green container is with the orange roof. There's a swim there, and we used it. You know, that's where Martin Bowler was fishing when we was chatting earlier on with Richard Lee and that. And it's like, it doesn't get fished that often. I don't remember the last time it was fished, hardly last year at all. And occasionally a good friend wants to come and fish, or I might do a prize for charity or something. And I've got somewhere where I can let someone go and catch a few special fish, because they are special. There's not as many as there used to be, but there's still enough to catch. I remember Matt Hayes there catching, he was putting them all in a keep net so not to spook the swim out, and he caught so many 5-pounders. He more or less filled the keep net up.
Oh, my God.
Unbelievable, man. And I think he had his PB there, a big 7. But he also went out into the pool and caught big chub. Like, he didn't just stay there. But for someone like Matt, is an absolute crazy chub angler. He loves his chub, and it's like it would be if he was allowed on a really special carp lake, you know, and he's the only one allowed to fish it. And I think he loved it. He just come down, and his best method I see him fishing was on the waggler, trotting, like,
Was
you know,
it?
and spraying maggot, and he just caught one after another. Moving bait going through the swim, they were just snatching it.
Are they sat all over that whirlpool, or do they like?
Yeah, what actually happened, I was away on holiday a few years back, and my daughter was at home, and she rung me with the news that the willow had fallen, because it was growing out the side of the house at the bank, and it collapsed. And I always said it's like if the Ravens ever leave London Bridge or whatever, and like with that willow falling down, I'll leave the house, like, you know, because it was such a beautiful thing, and it sort of overhung the water, and the chub sat under there. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it fell into the water, and it's carried on growing, and it's still, I didn't want to get rid of it, because if I get rid of it, it just looks so different there, and it's created even more of a habitat for them. And what people think there ain't as many chub there now, but I could show you videos from my side of the garden, what they can't see, and literally from me to you, they're swimming round by my feet where I'm filming, feeding them, like, and there's still a lot.
How many chub do you think you get in there? You know,
I don't know, 50 odd.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And
it's a small area, that really.
And they're all big.
Yeah.
They're all big, and the tree has sort of grown back quite nicely now. Some of it needs to be taken away. I think if you took that tree away, the chub maybe not be up there as much, and then we lose them, you know. And I don't want them to go. I want them to come there because it's lovely to watch. And,
well, they're pretty safe as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and they don't get they get caught in the weir. Like I say, anyone does the nights, they catch them at night when they're in and out. And my best chub from there was 810.
Oh my God!
And at the time, the record was
massive.
That's nearly a British record.
That was in August as well.
Wow.
What is the British record now?
8:13 at the time.
Oh my God!
And I was weighing it with no real. I'm a carp angler, and I'm not.
Right.
I was just a bit sort of naive. Well, I just didn't know how big chub went, you know. And I remember weighing it, and the scales were going 8:10, 8:13. I went, "I'll call it 8:10." And someone said,
"No, I call it 8:14."
But someone else
dishonest. Call it 8:14.
Yeah. Well, someone said, "Do you know what the record is?" I said, "Well, I've let it go now." I said, "I don't know. What is it? 8:13." I went, "Oh God."
Jeez.
I was close.
Did you have any idea that they were that big in there?
Not really, no. I thought they were big, but I didn't think they was that big. And when Martin was fishing on there, we actually got to name a couple. One was the big brown, one was a slate grey, like you named Carp. And when he was filming Catching the Impossible, he was after an impossible-sized chub, and he lost a good one in there, took him in a snag, and I think he lost it, or something happened. and he might have lost the old big grey or the slate grey as we called it. He lost one of the good ones, and to him that's like us losing like a record carp, like, you know.
Oh my God.
But
I remember catching the impossible, right? You know, our friend Stuart Court, who I've been to. I've said to you before, we stayed in the lodge and he showed me the weir and everything. Catching the impossible. You know when Martin was on the Great Ooze, wasn't it? Adam's Mill, wasn't it?
Yeah, Adam's Mill.
Giant
yeah, so
barbel.
Stuart was up there, wasn't he?
Stuart was up there, right? And when the day before Martin was filming Catching the Impossible, Stu caught, I think it was a 14, 15 pound barbel, and then the next day Martin came along and caught the same barbel, and Stu said, isn't it ironic that they call it Catching the Impossible?
And he's been out twice.
He's been out twice in 2 days.
He caught some big barbel up there, Stuart did, didn't he?
17 pounds.
Yeah.
Stu's caught some, I think he's had 3 17 pounders from 3 different rivers.
Done well. I remember when he was on the barbel mission.
That was the Jurassic Park of barbel fishing at the time. What a shame with the otters.
I actually got a ticket for it just as the otters come and sorted it all out.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're carp anglers and this is a carp fishing podcast, but
everyone wanted a barbel ticket on there, though.
Yeah, I mean, those barbel were such a unique, because it wasn't a long stretch either. It was like in one farmer's field, pretty much, wasn't it? The syndicate.
Do you know, I never even went up there.
Right.
I didn't get the chance.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have. I remember talking to Stuart about it. I wanted to catch. I'm a carp angler, really, but I wanted to catch a few of them big barbel. Who wouldn't?
Oh, he knew it. He knew it well. I remember Stu talking to me about that and saying that they moved from the normal area where you would normally find them, and how he thought, I've got to find these barbel. They've gone somewhere else, and they couldn't go very far, and he ended up finding them in a reed bed just a little bit further up the river. But he said they were so tucked in that none of the anglers could see them. Yeah. But they were just great stories. You don't need to be a carp angler to be inspired by those.
You've still got the same hunting instincts, whether you're going for barbel or rudd or roach or carp, haven't you?
Yeah. What was it? Was it the Traveller? Was it the barbel?
It was
called the Traveller. Was that one of those?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So how did you come to acquire that property in the first place?
I was living local anyway. And my mother and father-in-law were living, they were down near, what's the name of where they were? I can't remember. I'll think of it in a minute. They were more down towards, do you know, St. Near? No, what's the name? No. Can't think of the name of the area, down Chelmsford way. And basically, they weren't particularly up for selling or nothing, but we had wanted to sell our house, and we both went in. I remember he was walking along, going out for a walk one day, and the lock house had a for sale sign outside, and I thought, I'd love to live here.
What year was this?
2003, 2002, something like that.
Right.
We were just walking along down the river with my mother and father and all my missus and that, and I remember saying to my father-in-law, look at this gaff's up for sale, and he went, how much is that and all that, and I said, I don't know, and he said, let's go up to the estate agents and have a look.
Yeah.
So we went up there, and the guy said, it's sold already. He said, it's sold, is it? He went, yeah. And there was 2 estate agents next door to each other, both selling it. So we took a chance and went into the one next door as well. And he said, well, they've not put any money down yet. They've just put an offer in. They haven't put any money in yet. So we went up to the guy that owned it, the late Peter Brill, who was the old guy that lived there 30 years. He lived there before I moved in. And he said, well, I ain't had no money yet. So my father-in-law went, how about if I give you 100 grand now or something? How does that... He went, okay. So we stole the deal, basically.
Did you?
Yeah, we stole it. And
so did you purchase just the house, and you had obviously the rights to that weirpool as well?
Yeah, all the weirpool, the fishing rights. I used to rent a big stretch of the river off of British Waterways. I even had Dobbs Weir at one stage, but it was just too much up and down that. You know, someone's got to look after it, and you're up and down the river all the time on the bike. It could take you all day to do that because you do it once. I mean, we had from our house all the way down going south. We must have had a couple of miles there, and then going back up the other way, it's another mile to Dobbs Weir, so 3 miles. Then we had Dobbs Weir, and then about another half a mile further down. There's a lot to cover, and everyone wants to talk to you. So you're talking to guys just to take a couple of quid day ticket off them, and it just, you know, you could take. And when you've done one lot, there's loads more people turn up, so you have to turn around and cut. It's a full-time job. And to be honest, the rivers were getting quieter and quieter and quieter. You just weren't getting the anglers. So in the end, we just sort of handed it all back and just just kept with what we got.
But when you purchased the house, you knew that there was this business that kind of went with it as well then?
Yeah, we've got a lot of boat moorings here as well, so that's a big part.
Right.
You know, the back garden has all boat moorings down one side, and my mother and father-in-law have got all the moorings at the front. It's like an island that carries on from the house, and they turned them into some beautiful moorings. So there's a lot that went with it, like, you know, a lot of work we've done over the years.
So that was a real business kind of opportunity as well.
100%, yeah.
And what about Carthagena and Brook Lake?
Carthagena, Brook Lake was totally overgrown with lily pads, and it was just, I don't think the previous guy, Peter, could really have he was getting on a bit, and I think it was too much for him, like, you know. But me, as a young, keen as mustard carp angler, could see what it could be, and it was a lot to undergo, but what a great project to work on, like, you know, and making it in what it is today. And when we first started there, the lakes were run as season ticket, no nights, but you could do nights for an extra fee, like a tenner a night or something. And so we kept it like that for a while. And then it was I don't know, it wasn't for the first year or so, we was sort of trying to work on Brook Lake to get that get that up and running. And we ended up first opening it as sort of like a day ticket water. But the trouble was, and I don't mean this horribly, like, they just had no respect for the place. Anyone that went there were not really concerned about litter, which they should be. They weren't concerned about the fish. And it was just like too much to manage, and it's not what I like the place to look beautiful. I don't want no litter. I don't want people disrespecting anything, and not above all not respecting the fish, like, you know. So we just turned it over into a syndicate in the end. And it is a stunning water. The topography of that lake is unbelievable. It's like a moon surface. And right now, at the minute, it looks beautiful. It's crystal clear at the minute, 10-foot viz down to the bottom.
When I came over last week, it was coloured. So is it starting to clear?
No, that's the main lake's a bit coloured, but Brook Lake is crystal clear.
Right, yeah.
Did you walk down now?
No.
It's gin clear.
Right.
It really, really is like looking in the ocean, like, you know, being abroad. It's really beautiful. And then lots of gravel bars. It's every carp angler's dream, really. They've got lily pads, there's weed beds, there's silt, there's gullies, it's just everything that you could dream of. And I find that because it is like that, it's a lot more of an enjoyable lake to fish. The fish respond to bait. They love bait in there. And if you do your if your watercraft's good and you do your plumbing and that properly, and you feature finding, you'll catch pretty easily, because you can set your traps up and down the bars or in the areas where you think they're going to feed, and generally they do, providing you pick the right sort of spot. And so anyone with half a knowledge of, you know, they can get over there and catch quite a nice few fish.
So are they different stockings and strains to Carthagena?
Yeah, the Carthagena main lake is a lot different. It's silty, not much gravel in there, little bits here and there. Generally gin clear, but the last 2 years it's had last year had a bit of colour in the water, so we never had so much weed. But normally it's top to bottom Canadian, which I love, like, you know, and the fish seem to love it, and they feed a lot better in that. When it's clear, when it's less weedy, they're harder to catch, I believe. They're very, very line shine there. And the fish in the main lake, what I call the main lake, Carthagena Lake, Peter Brill was there 30 years before I lived there, and I've been there 19, and he had a stocking record of 800 fingerlings, little ones that went in I don't know, 1980 odd or wherever it was, or 1970 something. So, like, they're all...
These are the ones that...
Yeah, and there was ones in there, there was fish in there already since then, so they'd be the originals. And since then, obviously, I don't stock loads of fish in there, just over the years, selected Suttons, a few Suttons here and there, a few Italian strain, a few horseshoe strain, just all hand-picked really nice carp that are backing up the ones that are in there now. And it's staggered, and it's coming along quite nice.
Is it? Yeah. So obviously that's your preference with running a water as well, and to not sit on what you've got and wait for them all to, you know, to keep introducing a few fish at a time.
Yeah, the Sutton ones went in at £6 long time ago.
Are they the Sutton ones that we saw on In Pursuit on the Nashi on the Cops Lake? Those, you know, the ones with quite small heads.
These ones were from the Poly Tunnel at Halton. They come from Halton. Yeah, right. From. Who was there at the time? Trying to think who it was. Remember Rupert and
yeah, I remember
Rue,
the name. Yeah,
and Mick Barnes when they were there. Oh, Mike Hutchinson. Them sort of days. They were breeding with Dale Smith and that.
Dale Smith. That's
yeah,
right.
they were breeding.
Is he still around?
He's gone now, sadly.
When did he go?
A few years ago now.
Right, yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Had a lot of good fun with Dill.
Yeah.
I've got a few stories to tell you about Halton with him.
Yeah.
I used to wake him up every night. I used to turn up at Halton. Sorry to change the subject.
No.
But I used to wake him up at Halton most nights. He'd always be fishing in the plateau if it was free, and he lived on site. He'd jump in the plateau and had his little dog Rolly, and I used to get there late at night, miss the traffic, and load my barrow up, walk around the lake, find fish if I could. And then I'd always go past his swim with a barrow, trying to be really, really quiet. And there was a root that stuck up, and every time I hit it, and the barrow used to tip over on his bivvy, and his dog used to bark, used to come out and go, "That's you, Jerry, innit?" "Yes, Del, sorry, mate." I used to do it all the time. I couldn't. And I tried to swerve around it, and I still somehow tipped the barrow over. Nightmare.
I've had that a few times, Jerry.
I bet.
Yeah. I remember the first.
I was going to say, I know this story already.
Go on.
The first year I was fishing Savay, and it was like literally my second rotor, and I didn't know the anglers that well at that point. And they were all lined up along the canal bank this particular night, like all of them. Every swim was taken, and I was wheeling my gear around at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and it was late at night. And I came to the first person, and it's like, I remember it's Roger. Roger's setup is it's spectacular.
I can imagine.
Some of the boys on there.
Yeah.
It's just like a bouncy castle setup.
God.
He's got like awnings coming off of. So first of all, I go clattering into all of his stuff. Then I go past the chef, and I got past him, and then I get to his dad, right? And it's like, flipping out, it's Damien Clark fishing here. And the barrow nearly went over into his swim. Then I get to Stuart Brooks. Do you know Stuart Brooks?
No.
Stuart Brooks. I went over into his bivvy, and she went over into his bivvy.
Did the barrow go over and everything?
Yeah, the barrow went over it. And then, so you can imagine, like, one by one, I was waking up the whole syndicate. And then I had to go through the syndicate gate because I was on the syndicate bank, and Carl Pashley was fishing on the... he was fishing right on the other side of the gate, and Carl is like... And I didn't know Carl at the time either. And just trying to get my gear through this narrow, and it was like bang, bang.
I can picture it.
That was my introduction.
Yeah, I bet he was popular.
Yeah, they were all texting each other going, "Who the fucking hell's
Here
this
comes
idiot?"
that nutcase. Was it obviously in the dark as well?
Oh, it was in the dark, yeah. And
that's what I was doing to Dale every night, and you feel a right twat. But I just couldn't avoid that route, Yeah. And you couldn't avoid anyone's bivvies.
But he was synonymous, wasn't he, with Halton as well? No, I just, no. But he was a character, wasn't he? And you got these lakes, and you think of these certain people, don't you? And you think, yeah, that's
the last thing I want to do is knock his bivvy over.
No, exactly.
And the first thing you do is knock it over.
Yeah.
You feel a right idiot.
No, it's a nice way to start a conversation.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Hi,
I'm Si.
Yeah, that's how it started for me, and
that's him.
Yeah, they've never liked me since.
I bet they do. I bet they do.
Yeah, so Carthagena then. So did you see the potential of that fishery?
Being a carp angler and going over there was just like, it was unreal. I mean, I was like 100,000 mile an hour just trying to do everything I'd ever dreamed of, I still am. It's my life. I don't think I could ever move away from the house. I get up every day, every single morning, look out the bathroom window, which looks over the weir pool, and I just have to sort of take a deep breath and go, yep, still here.
Yeah, pinch yourself.
A lot of wildlife. I've got all the mallards at the minute. They're starting to chase each other around, and I can hear them in my bathroom. I've got like a patio with a fence around it, and there's a male one side and a female one side, and they're quacking at each other, and it's just great. I love the wildlife. We've got a lot of wildlife over there, actually. There's a lot of munkjack, and it's just a really lovely place to be. And although the only neighbours I've got are boats, and sometimes they're quite noisy coming through the lock, a bit disrespectful, but it's not such a bad thing to put up with than living down a street somewhere with everyone else, That's the trouble, because you've got everywhere, because it's so quiet. As soon as someone makes a noise, you're all out the window. What's going on here,
And I guess I mean, as an angler, I mean, you must learn an awful lot from having your own fishery as well. I mean, have you seen your own angling improve, or has it had a detrimental effect on your own fishing?
It's good to observe the fish. I mean, I'm in quite a lot of times. I'm in a good position to see where the fish are. And what I tend to do now is I don't tell anyone because I don't want them caught, because they're my friends. These carp I've known for 19 years, and
the carp are your friends.
They are though. They're like my mates. You know what I mean? And I might have whatever's fish is down in the corner there, and so and so turns up, and they go, "Seen any? Are there any about?" And I think I have to stop myself, and I normally go, "Oh, yeah, Sandy and the leather's down in the pipe corner," and I think, no, leave them to it. I think let them have their little time down there, and no one goes in the pipe corner, and they'll be all right.
Well, let them find the fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I am there a lot. I mean, I'm still up and down trees, and I've got viewing places that I climb up and look. And I don't go out on the boat. When I first went there, I'd always chuck a life jacket on. I'll be on the boat all day looking, and it's nice. You used to get the fish following you along on the boat, and they're very inquisitive, as shy as they are in getting caught, and they can't stand lines. I go towards them on the boat, and they all bolt off, but then they all turn around and come back and circle the boat, and sometimes swimming along beside you,
What do you think it is? I mean, they know. Obviously, they get used to the boat, don't they? So do you think it's actually like when you're you've got your dog, you're taking your dog for a walk, and you let it off the lead, it runs off, but then it follows you around. I mean, is it the same sort of thing with that they are?
I don't know why they're following the boat. I think they're just inquisitive. I don't know. I really don't know why they do it. I mean, someone out there must know, but they just.
They're not quite as wild sometimes as we think, are they? When you see that,
they definitely like characters. You know. They don't like you when you turn up. A lot of them bolt off and never come back. But some of them, you see them, they go 10 yards ahead and they stop. And they're looking at you and then they come along beside you. And sometimes they don't spook at all. They just swim right in front of it. And I think probably some of them feel like they're not in any harm. They're in their own environment and they can dart off when they want. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can get quite close to them.
Yeah, I bet. You were supposed to be in India, weren't you, at the moment?
Yeah. Oh, don't mention that to my missus. Oh, she won't be happy. No, with what's been going on across the country, and over the last, I don't know how many years now, we've been going to India about 14 years on and off. And then
why did you go to India?
Just
it's like a pilgrimage every year.
Yeah, I mean, we started off going there 15 years ago now. Yeah, it must be 15 years ago, and fell in love with the place. And we'd been to a lot of other places. We like to travel. We'd been since. We had a little bit where we went to Thailand, we went to the Maldives, went to Mauritius, and a few other, Mexico and Cuba. But always now end up at India, and I can't see myself ever going on a normal holiday again apart from India, because it's not so much of a holiday, it's like I live there. So we go there now beginning of December and do December, January, February. Try and miss the winter. And then my mother and father-in-law live in Portugal, so they like to come back to England for Christmas so they can come back home and live in the house while we're in India. So everywhere's looked after. The fishery's looked after by the bailiffs, and everything just sort of fits in nice. And
so you stay at the same place in India, do you?
We've actually got the best place we've ever had recently. We used to stay on the beach, got really lovely little beach shack restaurants, and it's a beach holiday living, you basically, I mean, I don't just get on the beach from 9 in the morning till 10 at night. Now, because I'm out there a long while, I go to a local gym, me and the missus go to supermarkets, shopping, we've got our own scooter over there. It's like a way of life. And then when you've done all your bits and pieces, we then jump on the scooter and go to the beach. Why not, and spend the rest of the day there. Watch the sunsets are amazing. And we normally sunbathe at the front of a beach shack, and they had a property. Within that property, there was little flats or little apartments, and we used to stay with them, rent a place out for them. But we found we needed somewhere with a kitchen and a bit more space because we're there for 3 months. So my Mrs. is pretty good searching, and she found a really lovely place in a little village called Betelbatim. That's where my gym is. If you went there, you'd think you was in it's just ridiculous. It's proper Indian town. There's all women selling fish on the street corners and little barber shops and fruit and veg stalls, and it's bedlam, scooters everywhere and bibbing and honking their horns and that, scorching hot. and I love it. And
you said you go to the same gym.
Yeah, every day.
You know the people in the gym.
Every single day. I train at 6 days a week in the same gym. The gym's called No Pain No Game, spelled NOO pain, no pain no game, and I love it. And I say she found this place to stay. It's 2 stories, and the people that own it live next door, gated, so it's all really nice, lovely place. Don't see not a single insect in there, nothing. It's immaculately clean, and we've got our own front room with 2 two-seaters. There's a little cabinet with a Wi-Fi stereo on it. We've got a fairly nice widescreen TV with at least 10 or 15 English channels, loads of film channels on. It's crazy. You could be up in the morning at 8 o'clock and Psycho will be on or something like that. There's no sort of time for any movies to be on. They'll be on any time of the day and night. And so 2 bedrooms, 2 balconies, 1 on each bedroom. They've got a lovely kitchen with everything you need, with a balcony. And there's a washing machine upstairs, a lovely walk-in shower, hot water, absolutely everything you could want. Little home from home, and we add bits to it. My missus puts candles everywhere and puts a throw over the settees and makes it a bit more homely. And I think we pay £9 a night for it.
Wow,
we need to get out there.
Yeah,
don't we? Need
I've had to put some pictures up because is that the right place, Jerry?
That's Bettle Batting Beach, yeah, on the right there.
That's got to be like. You imagine that on your screensaver, don't you, on your computer or something?
Well, if you look down, you can just see a red, like a flag or something. That would be on top of one of the beach shacks.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you've got gaps like that between the beach shacks, and we've got it sussed out there. We've got.
I like my yoga, Jerry, and it's sort of the home of yoga. That is really, isn't it?
Amazing place. I mean, the food is absolutely unreal if you like Indian food, but it's not just Indian food; it's Chinese and seafood. So. And English food if you want it, but I don't really bother with that much.
You can't get more of a contrast, can you, between your life here in England and going. I mean, do you completely switch off from the UK when you're out there?
What's really hard is you'd be sitting on the beach. So I'm just looking at the pictures. You'd be sitting on the beach and it's hot, and all I think about is carp fishing. And then I talk to people back home and they're freezing, and they say, "Oh, the lakes are froze over." And I'm laying there waiting for something to jump in the sea, and it's great. You get the local fishermen coming down the beach, and I follow them. Their watercraft's good. There's a little group of them that come along on a scooter with a few baskets and a few nets, and the rest are running. It's a proper little team. And the guy who's the fish spotter, who's got all the watercraft, is ahead of them, no sunglasses on, 90 odd degrees, the sun's blaring and he's looking for signs of these fish.
Yeah.
And he walks ahead, and when he sees what he's looking for, he screams at them, and they come running down and they swim this net out in a big arc, and the other couple go in and they all splash and chase the fish into the net. And they pull it in on the shore.
I saw. I was watching Jeremy Wade the other day. Actually, we want him on the podcast.
I'd love to have him.
Yeah, we will. Well, we'd love him on the podcast.
Hopefully,
we keep trying to get him to come on the. Well, we ask other people anyway. I was watching him, and he was with a guy. They were trying to catch Annapurna, and they were going down.
Anna what?
Annapurna's a mountain.
Is it Annapurna?
Arapina. Annapurna is an 8,000 metre mountain in Nepal.
You've got that mountaineering in your head now, haven't you?
Oh, when you say like India, actually, because I associate India with, I've not been to India, but I've been to Nepal and stuff,
lovely.
I obviously associate it with the mountains, but when you look at that, it's that's like a well-being, spiritual,
It's just, to us, it's just our second home now, and absolutely gutted we ain't been there. All we talk about every day is going back out there, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. And it's great now. I've done plenty of many freezing cold winters on the lakes fishing, all for not a lot of really, you don't really catch much, and you're freezing your tits off, and after time when you're doing it you think, why am I doing this? And I've grown to the age now where I think I know where I'd rather be.
But don't you feel like when you're sat on that beach, right, all of the, the grey long days in this country, it disappears and you see the most idyllic carp fishing situation you can imagine. And that's what, by the time you get back, so carp fishing always remains
Well, I'm
like
back
that.
about now. I normally get back sort of beginning mid-March, and this is what I'd have been coming back to now.
Yeah.
Thinking, right, let's go. They're just waking up.
Yeah.
I'm refueled. I'm recharged. I'm ready to go. Because I try and work. I work hard at my fishing, and I live for my spring and summer, autumn fishing, and then I recuperate now, charge my batteries over in India, and
God, that sounds the life. That
it is. It's fantastic. It's cheap as anything. We can live there much cheaper than we can, in the UK. And my little grandson's been out there 3 times now. He's only 8. He's 9 now. So he's been there, and he's coming out again. He's been out there for Christmas a couple of times, my daughter. Not got my son out there yet. I've got to get my son and his wife out there to enlighten them.
£9 a night, is that normal then? Is that a normal sort of rent price to it?
I don't know. I think you can pay anything. You can stay in some really lovely places. That's the thing. You can go and stay out there in a really nice hotel and pay £5,000 for 2 weeks. If you want all that, but we don't bother with that no more. That's like any sort of holiday abroad now, the Maldives or anywhere like that. You're paying
but that's the difference between going on holiday, isn't it, and treating yourself and actually living.
Yeah.
And actually living there and experiencing it more,
I love it. I mean, I train with all Indian guys. They're teaching me all the phrases, all the swear words. I do get pretty good at Hindi now when I'm there for any sort of time. But I mean, I've been trying to learn it for years, and every time I go out there I talk to all the people on the beach and they teach me words, and a lot of I'm at the gym, I know all the wrong words, but it's quite good fun. And it's just it is crazy as well over there. Some of the laws, I mean, they're getting quite strict on wearing a helmet now on the scooter, but a lot of people don't, and they've been doing kind of like stop checks and giving you a fine. And some of the stuff you see, like
that's surprising for those sort of places because it's lawless on the roads, isn't it? It's like it's
bedlam.
Yeah, it's complete chaos. I know. God, you go to somewhere like Kathmandu or somewhere like that.
Well, you've experienced it. It's absolutely, and I drive in amongst all that now. I love it. I've got to. I don't want to speak too soon in case I have an accident, but I've kind of learnt how they drive. I mean, on a roundabout, they don't give way to the right. You have to give way to them. So if you're coming round the roundabout, you've got to let them on. Yeah. You can't just go on and they give way to you. It's the other way around.
Don't they have the highest amount of road traffic accidents, fatalities?
I don't never see many, but you do hear the odd smash, but like I don't see too much.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. What I was going to say though about the crash helmet thing, I was driving along with my missus, and you got like the tourist police in blue and the khaki police, like an army police, and they've done a proper roadblock, and it's always on sort of fairly major junctions outside the village, so you tend to avoid them at rush hours. And I was coming along, and I said to my missus, "Here we go, we're going to get pulled over now because no crash helmet on." And the cop was straight away blew a whistle at me over there, like they all got guns on them and everything. And I thought, oh God. So I pulled over. He just went, "Licence." I give him my licence, and he's writing out a chitty for me. And I'm trying to get out of it. I'm going, "I'm really sorry. My helmet's under the seat. I'll get it out and put it on." He's not listening to me one bit, just totally blanking me. And he's like, "Rupees." I had to pay him £1.50 in rupees. That was my fine. And I've got like a receipt of that. So I've gone training at the gym. And I said to my mate in there, I said, I come out of the gym earlier on and the police were there again. Because what they do, a lot of the locals, they're driving towards the police check. They slow down, turn around and go the other way, and the policeman's shouting them and they just go. Or they drive through as quick as they can, and the police are just putting their hands on their heads going, "What the hell?" So I started doing what they were doing, and I come towards this police check and I slowed down, done a U-turn and pulled away, and the cop was laughing like. And then I told my mate in the gym, he went, "Oh, no. He said, "You've already been done once today, you don't have to wear a helmet." I said, "What?" He went, "Well, because you've already been fined." He said, "You don't have to wear a helmet today." I went, "Oh, no, I never knew that." Weird, isn't it?
So it's not about safety, it's about finding people.
Yeah,
and then,
probably.
Yeah. You said with like training and stuff with that. You've trained all your life? Fitness is a big part of your...
Yeah, I was, as a youngster, I was into boxing, really, really into boxing. I boxed Michael Watson twice as an amateur.
You?
Yeah, I boxed him in a gym show.
Do you remember him, Tope? Michael Watson?
No, I don't.
What a boxer he was.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's one of the best middleweights around at the time. He was one of the best.
Sad story with him.
Very sad. I see him just recently when he was on TV with Chris Eubanks. He was in the audience, wasn't he? And yeah, I mean, I met him in a fight at my gym. It was a gym show, and I went the distance with him 3 rounds, and he beat me on a 1-point majority decision.
How many rounds?
3 rounds.
3 rounds.
And he beat me on a majority decision, and I always remember, because it was a show at my gym, they gave me the bigger trophy. They gave me the winner's trophy and gave him the loser's trophy, but they gave me a good trophy, basically. So my dad was walking down the road really proud with a loser's trophy. But what I was going to say was I got to the semi-finals of the ABA finals, like the schoolboys, and I'd fought all the fights with my mates all day on the ringside, screaming and hollering for my mates, and my fight was at 5 in the evening. I still wasn't sure who I had, but I was in the semis. I think it was the semis or the quarterfinals, one of the two. And I've gone round to the showers, and all the steam's on in the shower cubicles, and the whole room's like a sauna, like with the steam and the heat. And in amongst it is Michael Watson skipping, like absolutely going for it. And his trainer's gone, "Go on, Michael, round the block." And I said, "Car." I said, "You're keen." I said, "Who's he got there?" And he went, Jay Hammond.
Oh dear.
I went,
did you know how good he was at the
I
time?
knew he was really getting good because I'd seen him at other fights and he was knocking everyone out, like, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh my God.
We like couldn't wait for that.
Oh, mate. And now I know my chance of getting to the ABA finals are pretty slim. And
But you took him all the way.
no, in the first fight. This is the second fight when he had really come on a lot more. And I lasted 2 rounds. He was hitting me with punches that were making me nigh on blackout. I was like, remember, sort of as you're going down, waking up, thinking, oh my God, and the ref stopped it after 2 rounds. So, yeah, that was that wasn't the end of my boxing career, because you've got to think what I took, you've got to think how good he became. World class.
Yeah, totally.
World class boxer. And I boxed him, and
Well, he beat Nigel Benn as well, didn't he?
yeah, and he more or less beat Eubanks, really.
Do you remember watching that fight that night?
Yeah.
Saturday, I remember that.
Yeah, he'd more or less won it, hadn't he? And it was just that last little bit.
It's the last round, wasn't
done
it?
it for him.
Yeah, went the distance, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh no, it got stopped.
It was right
didn't
at the end.
Right at the very end.
Yeah, he was more or less winning it, wasn't
Yes.
he? And let's face it, Eubanks and Ben were fantastic fighters. Like, so in my opinion, I had no shame of losing to Michael Watson.
Not in the slightest.
And
no.
what I did after that, I joined the army at 16 and ended up army middleweight champion. So I ended up doing all right. And the trouble was with my boxing after that, when I went to the battalion, I started lifting a few weights and started getting a bit heavier, and found that from middleweight I was going up to light heavy, and I started sparring all the big boys that are a lot bigger than me. Maybe if I was carrying a bit of body weight with the weight from muscle, and I was fighting bigger guys, and although I was doing all right against them, I wanted to box at middleweight, and I was finding it harder and harder and harder to get, because 11.5 stone, 75 kilos. It's a lot. It's very light. I think I've been 11.5 stone since I was in 16, and that was kind of finished the boxing.
Were you a natural fighter? I mean, is that something that I mean, to be able to get into a ring with someone and get hit? That to me sounds pretty brutal. But were you a natural fighter, or was it a skill that you developed?
I just really enjoyed it. I think I was never going to be a world champion or anything.
But you were pretty good at it.
I thought I was all right. I don't know what anyone else thought, but I'd done okay. In the army, I'd done really well. It was only the fact that I was getting too heavy that I didn't want to box heavy. I wanted to box light, and I kind of backed off of it a bit. But
Nigel Benn was an army fighter.
Yeah, he was in the Royal Fusiliers, and I think he was in the recruitment before me. My mate Paul was in with him.
Right.
And no one messed about with him in training.
Similar age, I guess, are you?
He's a little bit older than me, I think.
Is he? Right.
Yeah,
right.
A little bit older.
No, you don't want to mess with Nigel Benn, do you?
I think in training, all his training staff and that, like the NCR, the army was tough back then, very, very tough. The stories I could tell you, it wasn't easy. It was absolutely. Well, I joined at 16 and I'd done a year's training because I was a junior soldier, too young to go to war, too young. You can't sign your army service up until you're 18. So they'd done a junior service, and you had an adult recruit would come in at any age and do I can't remember, it was 16 weeks training, and then they're off to the battalion. But a junior soldier, we used to do a year. But it was good because they gave us junior rank, so we all got rank, and it gave you the insight of what it's going to be like when you're going to the men, like regular battalion. We'd done a hell of a lot of adventure training, which you would have liked. So we went up Mount Snowdon and rock climbing and all sorts of stuff like that. We got to do a lot of canoeing and bits and pieces that the adult recruits would never have time for. And we spent a year at the barracks in Bassingbourne, and I missed quite a bit of important army training. I should have been a junior sergeant. I got my junior corporal, lance corporal, then corporal, and we only went up to junior sergeant. That's the highest we could get. And I should have been junior sergeant. It even says it on my report to they told my parents this when they come and see me do my passing out parade. But the only reason I didn't get it is because I missed quite a bit of army training due to boxing. And they said it seemed a bit unfair not to give it to so-and-so when We can't really get. I got best recruiter physical training though.
Did you?
Yeah, which was good out of the whole lot.
Yeah,
which was fantastic.
So you joined. You said you joined just after you just missed out on the Falklands.
The Falklands War was going on whilst I was in training. I obviously probably wouldn't have been able to go because I was still too young. But my regiment that I joined couldn't go because they never had full strength. And I think it was the Irish Guards that went on the Sir Galahad. We would have my regiment would have been that. They went instead.
That was the ship that sank, that got hit by a...
Yeah, that's it. And I think they went instead of our battalion. I think our battalion was supposed to go, but we weren't full strength and they went.
Was that the ship that Simon West was on?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Blimey.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that was fate, Jerry, wasn't it? So, how long did you spend in the army?
8 years, about 8 years. I was a PTI. I went and done my physical training course. I used to come home and leave and carp fish all the time. I used to like doing a bit of poaching then. I didn't give a damn. Yeah. I'd come home and say, I don't care, I'm fishing there. I'm in the army, I'm out in Northern Ireland. I'm going to come home and fish. I'm going to fish over there if I want. What can I do? I'm going back to the army next week. So like me and my mates used to have a few rods and we used to just go where we wanted. Didn't care about tickets back then.
So I mean, joining the army, because I guess people nowadays, if you're into carp fishing, means so much to some people. That's like, I can't take myself away and have a career like that because I won't be able to do enough fishing. Yeah. But that didn't bother you. You wanted to do other things. Yeah,
I mean, I was into my carp fishing, but you've got to remember, it's a long time ago when I joined the army, and carp fishing was still. I was using glass fibre rods and stuff like that over South Weald and Hainault Lake with Mitchell 810s. The boilie hair rig and that, boilies weren't really invented. It was just High Pro and Black Magic. I think the hair was just being developed. It was all very, very early days. And next thing I know, it's like as a youngster, you can leave hobbies and just come back to them. And it was kind of like that. I loved my fishing, but I'd done all the float fishing and all the other types of fishing. I was just getting into the carp scene. I remember I had 3 Jerry Savage carp rods, fiberglass. I had Fuji reel graphs on them, and I had leather whipped tennis racket handles done at Romford Angling. They had a carp department, and I whipped on the Fuji eyes myself. My dad's mate taught me, right? And I had matched them with Mitchell 810s, and I was a proper carp angler when I had all that lot. All my rods used to go in tubes in a tube rod bag. Do you remember them? And then I just joined the army, and that all got sort of thrown in the shed and whatever. I was doing other stuff. I was all over the world doing bits and pieces with the army, but every time I come home, I'd still go and fish somewhere.
But you'd already caught some good fish, hadn't you, around that time?
During the poaching sessions.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, we had a few nice ones here and there.
Yeah. But your carp fishing really got going once you left the army.
Once I come out the army, it was mad, really, because I come out the army, and just before I joined the army, I was fishing over on Hainault, and
this is where you met. You got a core group of friends, haven't you?
That was when I came out the army. Yeah. But prior to that, my earliest memory of carp being caught, I'd love to meet this guy if he's still about. I was fishing over on Hainault Lake. I was fishing in this swim. They called it Butcher Bay after this guy, Terry Butcher. And to the right, it was closed off. All around the back of the island, there was a little fence. You weren't allowed to go around there. And it probably never, but it always looked like different water to that water. It always looked like it was like the holy grail around there. The fish always hung about because it was out of bounds. But there was a swim on the corner and you could get rods across there. And there was a guy set up with, he had like a big double diamond umbrella and like a canvas wrap and an upright bivvy, like umbrella with the sides on it. Yeah. And he had I don't know if it was 3 rods, but he had his rods with the needles and the big yogurt ring carton bobbins. And he was a Heron or whatever they were, bite alarms. Yeah. And he was a pro, he was a proper pro. Had his Hessium sacks there waiting. And I was fishing with my mate, was a bit older than me, and he used to take us over there and we used to sit under an umbrella all night, with like a polythene wrap around it with a torch on our floats, thinking we were fishing for carp, but we never ever caught any. And I remember him about 4 a.m, pouring the rain, his rod gets dragged off the rod rest and he's into this carp, and I can still remember him playing it, and I thought, oh my God, massive great big net, or so it looked at the time. And he landed a 24-pound mirror, and I'm going back 70s, Huge fish to me, absolutely enormous. And I remember it all in the rain. I remember him running out because I was awake watching my float, and I remember him running out and grabbing the rod for it when in the lake. And he got this carp and he stuck it in a Hessium sack and put it in the margins. And I was pacing up and down all morning, waiting for him to get up in the morning and reveal this fish. And I remember him when he got it out, it was all covered in them little red marks and little bits of blood blisters here and there where it rubbed on the sack and that. And the guy was all right. He showed me the fish, and I don't think it was a big photography thing in them days, but a box camera or something.
Never
you know
knew
what I mean?
what you were going to get back.
I don't know whether he'd done any photos or not. I don't even remember him taking photos, but I remember him showing me this fish. And once he put that fish back, that was it for me. I was absolutely mad on carp, you know. And I remember him teaching me how to thread a bit of spam or luncheon meat cube onto the hook and put a bit of spaghetti or grass behind the bend of the hook, and that was the start. That's what I'd love to know if he's still around.
Yeah, we got your book here, Catching Memories.
Yeah, I've written about that in there.
It was written about that in the book, wasn't it? How important is that you know, when we meet these people, we've all got these individuals, haven't we, that we meet that really do influence and
he done it for me.
Did he? Yeah.
He was a pro.
I wonder how old he is now.
I don't know.
He was a pro.
It was a lovely guy. I mean, he gave me a bit of his time. I mean, I must have drove him mad. I was probably sitting next to his bivvy all day after that. Probably, like, I can imagine, like, you know, driving him. And then bearing in mind, it was very secretive in them days. Like, they never told you nothing. And he showed me a lot from what I can remember. Enough for me to write about it and have that memory. I can still got the picture in my head. And it really, really was a great time, and that kind of started. He was a professional, like, you know, and and basically that sort of started the ball rolling. And then I joined the army. But then when I came out of the army, I thought I'm going to slot back in over Hainault and try and carry on. Things had moved on. I think the hair rig had been invented, boilies were being bought and put in the lake, and there was a couple of Herberts over the lake at the time, over on the lake, and they were smashing it up, or they were doing well. And I kind of had to sort of catch up on carp fishing because I've been in the army for 8 years and missed out on a lot of the modern techniques and the ways of things were done then. And there was these couple of Herberts, little couple of lads, a bit younger than me, and I think their names were Terry and Tony Dempsey and more.
Oh, you know? Yeah.
And they were over there. They just finished doing what they were doing, and I think Terry and that moved on to the Tip Lake. And there was a little group of anglers over there. All rogues, mate. They never took no notice of rules, or they were brilliant days, brilliant guys.
They seemed to get around, didn't they, those guys?
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Yeah.
And they were rogues, but they were brilliant.
Were they secretive?
In amongst their own group, yeah, they wouldn't tell you nothing. But they were so good, they were so advanced. I mean, Terry was talking about something I watched the other day about he ended up walking out in the lake for some reason or other, and I can't remember why he walked out there over Hainault, and it was very silty, you know, you got your waist in silt. And he said he remembers finding this little hard mound. He said still silty but hard. And cut a long story short, I think he made a marker out of a floating seagull or something and weighted it down, and that was his marker, and he started destroying it after that. I think he used to walk his bait out and throw it all on the spot next to his little seagull. And
God, what a character.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
I know he fishes on the lake as well, and he's on the other rotor, and he was with a mate a few years ago, and they were both stood there looking out at the lake, and this carp, actually it was one of the big fish, one of the 18 fish, poked its head out of the water, and it went back down, and he turned to my mate and he said, "Did you see that?" And my friend Paul said, "What?" And he said, "That carp just winked at me."
Yeah, he's brilliant, mate. He told me a story a little while ago. He's probably told it elsewhere, and I might not have it absolutely correct, but it's a typical Terry Dempsey story. I think he was over on the Cons, and he was telling him it's freezing, absolutely freezing, and he said he was balancing his bait out in the margins, his pop up or whatever, and he lost his footing and went right under, like, and come up like, gasping for breath. And he thought, I'm freezing cold now. I think he had his bivvy set up or something, or he set it up to try and dry off. And he thought, I'm not going home. I am not going home. I'm going to stay here, like, you know, no matter what. And so I think he's took all his clothes off and he's rung a few mates up, lend us something to wear. And no one would give him nothing, like, you know. So I think he got in. This is a story. He got in his sleeping bag, like, more or less naked, and put the Coleman on to try, and he hung everything up. And he said where he'd been up all night, he was tired, and he sort of fell asleep with the warmth after warming up. He woke up to all his clothes are like, they'd all burnt, everything was all crispy and falling apart. And he's ringing round, please lend me something. Like, and no one would lend him nothing. And the story goes that they saw him walking back to the car with a carp sack on, put 2 holes for his legs, tied up round the neck, pushing his barrow.
You're laughing, Tobe. Honestly, this is what Terry is like.
Yeah.
That's a great story. I've known him turn up to the lake, and I've heard he's turned up to the lake with no food or anything,
Oh,
and he's
yeah,
been living off blackberries, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. But
He's a good character.
You
He
need-
really is, and a true carping character, like, and a legend. He's a great bloke.
Yeah.
And these lads were just like destroying
Yeah.
lakes at such a young age and going over to the tip lake. So they were inspirational to us and my little group, like who you mentioned earlier, Jay and that.
Yeah.
And that's where I met them over Hainault.
Do you find it beneficial to fish with a group of people? Or
Well,
was-
we all fished Hainault together. At one stage in my fishing life, Hainault was the be-all and end-all. There was no other lakes in the world. Nothing mattered apart from catching them fish. And that's how I used to be on a lot of lakes until something made you move on. And I found Hainault hard. It was a tricky lake for me. Whereas Jay, he just smashed it to pieces. Jay, he'd come over every Friday night after work. We used to fish with the rod tips right up high, back-leaded, and the old rod tips cranked over.
Would you do that now?
Yeah, I would. That wouldn't bother me.
Sorry, I know we're going. Why would you use the rod tip so high?
Um,
Gravel bars?
well, what we was, yeah, maybe, but what we was doing over there, it was kind of like the chod rig in a way. We used to call it the silt rig. So you had like, the float, sliding float stop
Yeah.
things. We used to put one of them up the line, a really short hook link. I think we still fished it on a pop up, but really short hook link. And basically that short hook link's like your chod today, and a little lead. So you used to cast it out, and the little rig used to go up to the bead. And our idea was the lead went in the silt, and then we let it sort of settle down with the rig laying next to it or popped up. And then we used to back lead to it rather than having your rods up high going to it. We used to back lead, so basically the rod tips were cranked over and the back leads were just in front of the rods in the margins. And the takes are great. You get
Yeah, I bet.
and all the back lead would come out the water.
Yeah.
I used to get woke up every Saturday morning by Jay. I'd be the one putting in 150% effort over there, working my tits off over there, really baiting spots and feeding the bait in an area, and no matter what I'd done, just never seemed to work for me. And Jay used to turn up and he'd set up next door, whack them out, a couple of cinnamon pop-ups or whatever he used, and I'd hear Saturday morning. I'm like, here we go, well done, Jay. Like, he'd have another one. He done really well.
Is it still like that today then?
He's still
with him.
He still is. I don't know. He still catches his fair share of fish. We fish some hard waters and they're never easy, are they?
No.
Now, like, I mean, Hainault was hard.
Did you come up with that rig yourselves then?
Well, I don't know who started it. We used to just call it the silt rig.
Yeah.
We all fish like that, and when you think about it, it's not far off the choddy, is it?
No, it's like a paternoster sort of rig.
It's a
but-
paternoster, yeah.
Yeah.
But really short hook links. The idea
Yeah.
was that they had a little short hook link sitting on the surface of the. That's how we fought it. The lead would go down, maybe it never, but we thought if it's silty, it's going to hit the top bead like a choddy does and come. Well, I don't even know if we feathered down in them days. I can't remember. We were before that rig. We used to always pull the out the silt.
Yeah,
and
so
pull
did
back.
I. Yeah, feel a couple of times. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
all
all
right.
right.
It's like, you
Yeah.
don't realise what you've
What
actually
you're doing.
Yeah,
But we used to pull back all the time. But now, then we this little rig. I don't know who started using it, but we was all using it, and to good effect. Apart from me, they was all catching. I caught, but I just struggled. Don't know why.
Yeah.
But I think that struggling area was what made me the sort of angler I am today.
Yeah.
It kind of made me work extra hard, and learning from everything and taking everything that I'd seen on board and give me. I do work hard at it. I think I do anyway.
So, what, work hard in all areas, or are there particular areas that you try to focus on?
I tend to sort of try and target big carp, and that's my kick out of fishing. I like to sort of join a lake for a particular fish, and the target of catching that fish is my goal. And no matter what happens, everything is all evolved. Everything is around catching that fish. And I can't remember where it started. It wasn't Sutton, because Sutton had so many big fish in there. You just fish for a bite on Sutton, and that's how we always fish. But then moving on to various other lakes, I think I always wanted to catch shoulders out of Halton. And once I think I caught shoulders, that's it. Now I want to go for so and so. And then when I caught that, I want to go for that one. And that, Tolpits, I wanted to catch plodder, and it just carried on like that through my fishing life.
So that working hard, work ethic on the lake, that set you up for targeting other fish, Jerry?
Yeah, I'd say that was kind of like the foundations of my carp angling life, really. That working hard over there and not catching as well as I wanted to, because I couldn't work out why I weren't catching. I thought about it all the time, but it was obviously something I weren't doing right because other people were catching. But it's just that way. I'm kind of that sort of person. I want to know why all the time. And that was kind of like, the foundations of a lifetime of carp fishing and leading on to trying to catch my next target, which is what I ended up enjoying,
So when you talk about like you had to find out why. I mean, did you actually ever do you find an answer for that, or do you just?
I'm still searching actually.
No, you've gone on to catch some memorable fish and fish some notable sort of waters as well. Is there a target fish or a target campaign that really stands out?
Well, where it all started, kind of like we never used to target fish. We used to fish for bites. Sutton,
it's a horrible term, isn't it?
Well, that's all you could do. I mean, Sutton was a hard water. I couldn't say I'd dearly like to catch them all. So I didn't actually say I want to catch Arctail Gertie or blind eye or what have you. Just getting bites over there, days only, was a massive thing in itself. So, but from there on, after that, I kind of thought, well, I'm going to go over Tolpits, and I really would like to catch plodder. And that was I was like one-track minded then to try and catch that carp, and found that I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that aspect of my carp fishing. Some anglers go carping for different reasons, and my inspiration or my fire is to chase a particular carp, and it's all out then for that particular fish. And like with shoulders over at Horton, I dearly wanted to catch that, being one of the few remaining proper fish from way back. And massive target for me. Very, very hard fish to catch at the time. It used to go missing, and I think when I caught it, it'd been missing a long while, hadn't been on the bank. So when I did, I was absolutely over the moon, and that just led to me thinking, well, now I've caught that, where do I go from here? And so on, just all the lakes after that were all come about by me wanting to catch a particular carp, more or less.
Like with Sutton as well. I mean, that's not every carp angler's cup of tea, is it? Because it was a day-only water as well. Me
and my little gang, I should say, that fished on Hainault, moved to Naze in Meads. We fished there for about 8 years, and the gang got a little bit bigger. And then we crossed the border over into deepest, darkest Kent, and we had a funny old reception over there from all the Kent boys. But they used to call us U-Essex lot all the time. But we'd sort of upped our game a bit, and we'd gone across the border into deepest Kent, and got a Sutton ticket, days only, and a big stepping stone for us. We'd been used to fishing sort of 60, 70 acre lake, and then going down to a couple of acre lake, days only, with some incredible stock. And to us, it was such a big step, up in the game, like sort of thing.
Yeah.
Fishing against some legendary anglers, the late Stevie Edwards, and some real lovely guys over there. Proper load of characters, and a busy lake. I mean, it's only little, and there must have been 30 odd swims on there. And I think back now, how the hell did we all fish it? But it was all very intricate, all under the rod tips, all sort of in the margins. Or it was brilliant. That was a tough nut to crack.
I mean, choosing a water like that as well, for a lot of people, not being able to set the bivvy up and spend a prolonged amount of time sat on the lake, is they wouldn't entertain that idea. I mean, did you see like that day fishing, and it's like being on an expedition and being able to sit it out and keep turning up there early. You were turning up at the gate at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, the thing was, you still set not a bivvy up, but you still had your full kit, because I think we used to get on the lake. We could get on the lake at 4 a.m. So for me to drive there in the morning, I'd have to get up at 1, wouldn't I? And I probably wouldn't have been in bed an hour, 2 hours, and I'd be getting up, driving to Kent. We used to drive onto the car park, and if there was other people waiting to get on the lake, we used to put all our tickets in a carrier bag and do a draw for swims. Or if there was just a couple of us, we'd sort it out between us, But you still needed a full water bottle. You still need all your brew kit. You still needed a sleeping bag, an umbrella, bed chair. So it was a barrel load. And you'd get in your swim absolutely exhausted. But I could never sleep because I want to watch the water. I want to watch daybreak. And the worst thing was, I'd set up in a swim. Sometimes you'd have to put your brolly and all that up if it was raining. So you're there, and you might hear something at the other end, and you think, I'm going to have to go at the other end now. And I end up packing everything down. It's a full move. You can't do 20 trips to the other end of the lake. You've got to pack every bit of tackle away as a full pack down and move to the other end of the lake. And some days on there, I'd move 3 times, and it was so tiring.
How many people were on the lake? So how many years did you fish Sutton for?
Do you know what? 3 years, I think.
Right. How many people were sort of fishing it regularly like you were at the time?
Well, there was a lot of lads from down Kent. I mean, this
proper keen, properly doing it. Yeah.
This was 1998, I think. 98. And so a long while ago now, and it's 22, 23 years ago.
God, it doesn't seem like it, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And you had a fair few that were regular over there. That some Graham East, he was like, must have been nigh and retired. Good old school angler, used to be over there quite regular. Funny old guy. He would catch the fish over and over again, and it never mattered to him. Like, you know, you'd say to him, "Oh, you've just had cluster." Yeah, how many times you had that? Oh, must be 4 times. And I think he still loves it over here. Like, you know, nowadays you get a red card, but he was a proper old school angler, and it good angler as well. And he'd be over there, and a few other old boys that never worked and taking up swims. You know what I mean? And then you'd have a few regulars that fished like I did, and like Jay worked. I mean, I had a wine bar then, but I used to get a couple of days off a week, like Monday and a Tuesday. So I'd fish Mondays and Tuesdays and any holiday I could muster together. And spent a lot of time over there doing them days. But if you tried to, the idea over there was to try and string a couple of days together, which was hard going because you're not always guaranteed to get in the same swim. And then staying overnight. I mean, we used to come off the lake at 10:30 at night. So the rods would be laying on the floor at 25 past, praying for a bite. And then by the time you get your rods packed up and walk back to your car, it might be 11:15. You've just about got enough time to pop up into Dartford and get like
I remember,
something from the Chinese or the Indian.
Terry's book, he talked about you in that, didn't he?
He mentioned it, didn't he? And now we used to go to the Indian every night and get what they call an evening box, and it was like a polystyrene box with a lid, and it had like a curry in one bit, a bit of rice and a bit of bread in another. And I remember I went in there without him once, and he went, "Where's your friend?" Like, you know, because we was in there like regulars all the time. Yeah. And they even knew us, like, you know. And then we'd stop off at the garage, get some milk and whatever bits you need, fill your water bottles up, go back to the car park. You weren't supposed to sleep in the car park, it's a residential area, but where was we to go? I always used to try and find places to sleep, and it was horrible, really. I've slept in the lay-by in my old car with a quilt over me, like, and that's it, and a pillar, and cars are going past, and I was sort of so tired where I've been stringing a few days together, and things had happened. I remember seeing a car come in, headlights coming into this lay-by, and I'm dreaming it, or I'm thinking, is it real? And I couldn't work out what was what. To the stage where I see someone get out of the car and they're coming round to my car, and in my dream I'm trying to wake up, and then they're banging on the window, and I'm like, whoa, in a shock, like there's no one there. I was thinking, I start the car up and just drive off. I'm going off my head here, like, you know.
But you can't sleep. I know with doing day fishing as well, different to you, because, and the thing with Sutton is you, like you say, you can fish until 10 at night, which is quite late anyway, and then back on the lake at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 10 at night.
10 at night. Mm. So I mean, driving home, even if you were living locally,
just
it's
about
hardly
get home
worth
in time
it,
to
it?
come back.
Yeah.
So we used to sort of get in the car park. I used to smoke back then. I haven't done for a long time now, but I'd eat my food. Terry would eat his in our own cars. Then we'd sit in his car, listen to a bit of drum and bass for a half hour, and then discuss the next day's tactics, as you do.
That must have been fun.
It was hard, mate. We'd done a whole winter one year, the whole winter, 2 or 3 days a week, sleeping in the car, absolutely exhausted. And it was really, I remember it was beginning of November, and I was fishing in a swim called the High Point. It's like a real sort of high gravelly hump with a gap that went, and there was another bar, and there's a nice little silty channel through the gap. Quite good for a bite, but also good for the bream. They were a bit of a nightmare. And I've had a take, and it felt like a bream was coming in like a crisp bag, and I just assumed it was a bream, which so often happens. And right in the margins, a big vortex come up, and I said to my mate, put your light down there. And he shone his light down there, and there was cluster on the surface. Quick, get that light, it was cluster.
That's the best way to get them.
Oh, mate. So I've got cluster, 35 pound, very big fish. And I proceeded to do the rest of November. I've done all of December. Yeah, there she is. That's another time. I had her about 3 or 4 times.
I know in the book you mentioned it as well, because you that was, you had the first one and last knock. Did you catch it again quite soon after?
No, what happened was I'd done the beginning of November there. That went that particular time, but I caught it in November. done all of November, all of December, all of January, all of February, and I think their season at CMEX then ended the 30th of March or something. So on the last day, 5 months later of fishing 3 days a week in all the winter, freezing cold, I'm fishing back in the high point swim, and I'm fishing on top of the bar, sun's out, and I remember I had a blatant pop-up on top of the bar, and it absolutely melted off, and had the ruck from hell off of this really, really angry carp, you know, just waking up from the winter, and in the net it was cluster again. So I done.
What does that feel like?
I'd done 5 months for the same fish to catch at the end of the season, and Terry was on the other side of the lake, and he ended up catching Searcher, which is one I dearly loved to have caught.
Nice carp.
And I
that was a lovely carp, wasn't it?
I didn't get Searcher, and I thought, why couldn't we just swapped them last two?
That was a very brown fish, wasn't it, with those scales on the block of scales.
Beautiful old carp. So and the winter was grueling. And I mean, we sat in a swim one night. I think I was in the trees swim, and Terry was sat on my unhooking mat chatting away, and the unhooking mat froze solid, and he went, "Oh, the mat's all froze." He said, "I can't hear there was no one on the lake." He said, "I can't hear," it was only early, about 5 o'clock. He said, "I can't hear the birds on the lake, no water splashing." He leant over and it bump, it was iced over, and we was both like, yes, we can go home now. Do you know what I mean? And I remember I never packed up so quick in my life, and I'm running down with my barrow, and there was a guy in one of the swims just casting out, and went, "Don't bother, it's froze." But
well, I mean, fishing with Terry, so you spent a lot of time with him. I mean, was he a good sort of team player, a good person to sort of, you know? To
be honest, you know all about Terry. He's a legend. He's a fantastic angler, and we were both coming up like the same each day, blanking our asses off over there, like, you know, and in the winter. And we tried everything, and we'd done our own thing. We got on the lake and done our own thing, but we discussed it every day and talked about tactics and things we could possibly do. And it was absolutely like you end up like a zombie doing 2 or 3 days a week, hardly any sleep, because like you're not getting to sleep at night till about 1, and then at 3 you've got to get up, start the car up, make it look like you've just arrived, get the kettle on or something. You know, 9 times out of 10 there's only me and him there anyway. And then go through another day, but you don't go to sleep because you're watching and you're buzzing, you're excited, and you think, "Oh, I need to get on the fish today. I need to catch one." I think I lost one in the middle of winter in a swim. The first winter we done in the dugout swim, bent my hook out, and I think Terry had Jackson's Common once at 30. I think that was the first year we done. Then we done another bad winter, hard winter the following year when we caught Cluster and Searcher. And I say the only thing I really learnt out of it was to like never do it again, really, because it was just ridiculously hard.
I like Jackson's.
I go to Goa now.
Yeah, that's it. Go to India and I like Jackson's Common was named after Lee Jackson because it's got a ball patch on the side.
Ball patch on the side, yeah.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, obviously fishing a water like that during the winter, you know, any carp water is going to be more difficult during the winter, but the lake had 100 odd fish in there.
Had a lot of carp.
It wasn't huge.
No.
Why was it such a tough lake?
This is what we always ask ourselves.
You never found out.
The only thing that I didn't really put any attention into was zigging over there, and I often wondered, would have that produced a bite or two? You know, although I probably did do it, I don't recall doing it. I do remember, I might be wrong here, but an angler called Craig Lyons, good old mate, he caught blind eye. I'm sure he had it on a pop-up off the lead, like, you know, so it makes you wonder sometimes whether they were just off the bottom, maybe missing our baits, you know, and that's probably what it was at the end of the day. I can't think of any other reason why they wouldn't feed.
I mean, how did it fish during the summer months opposed to the...
Still tough. Yeah, still tough. I mean... used to turn up at the gate, and I used to always just look for the bubbles, like the froth on the lake surface, to try and, because you just wouldn't know where to go unless you were there. I used to get there early, but you couldn't walk around the lake or nothing till 4. And I'd walk on and look for the, you know, first thing in the summer where it's all frothed up, where they've been crashing out all night, probably having their fill, and where we're just turning. I was just hoping that I could just drop on like a late feeder and try and catch one like early morning before they went and done what they done in the daytime, which wasn't eat.
I mean, could you get excited about that when you see him like frothing up, or was it just such a was it a common thing to see that it doesn't necessarily mean you were going to get a bite anyway?
No, they've probably been long gone.
Yeah,
like, you know, that froth where they've lumped out could stay there for ages, couldn't it?
Oh, it does stay there for a long time.
You know, and you
think
there they are, but are they there? They're not there.
Yeah,
I mean, like, they were clued up. I think as soon as that gate shut or opened and the chain went on the gate, they heard there was what they called the dead end, the narrow end. I think a lot of carp got up there, but by the time we come in through that gate, they're all long gone, like, and they probably through instinct and habit just thought, right, that's it, feeding over. Just chill out now and do what they do. But the only way I ever got successful over there was to try and string a few days together, and then on the last knock-ins get a bit of bait in just before you went. So sacrifice your rods for half hour or quarter of an hour, bring them in and get some bait out, hoping that you're going to be there the next day in the same swim. And it started to work. And a lot of we used to use funny old hooks, but I used to use B175s back then, little tiny, really light, little size 8s or whatever they were, with long hairs. And my favourite method over there was an inline lead core. I can't remember the hook length, silkworm or something, but a real little tiny hook, because they've got a kicker on them hooks, I know them B175s. I used to use Big Fish Adventure stingers, which are like a copy of them, but in my head I thought they were better. Small, size 8s, like fairly long hair, double bottom bait and a 4 bait stringer. And then the night before, put a load of bait out and then just put them out, you know. Sometimes I'd scatter a few baits around, but they were definitely feeding in that silt, and that produced for me. So much so that I remember a guy having a fish one day. I was using DT bait back then with the oily chicken in it.
See the hat on there? You're wearing the hat on,
yeah. I was on the oily chicken, and it was a kind of smell that I ended up really liking because it caught me carp, but anyone else smelled it, they'd be like, oh, that's disgusting.
Well, those meaty baits don't get used so much, do they?
No, the company I'm with now, Mad Baits, they've got one. It's like a pepper army sort of pandemic, it's called. It's like a pepper army smell, very spicy. Quite good. I like to blend that up and put it in my spod mix, and it does get me bites, you know.
Yeah.
But back then, and I remember a guy once in the tree swim had a bite into dark, and he said, they're definitely on my bait. I went round there, he said, they're definitely on my bait. Look, it's crapping it out everywhere. And I grabbed hold of it and went, that's my bait. I smelled the oily chicken in it, so I knew I was on a winner. And I was catching. I caught quite a few until there was a bit of a baiting team on there then, like a few Lockie boys, and I couldn't compete with them on my own. And in the end, they sort of started putting more bait in, and it kind of took the edge off my success. But did all right though.
You can't. But that lake was, late 90s. That had a remarkable stock of fish in it, didn't it?
Yeah, incredible.
You know,
absolutely. And some of them went missing, like the brown fish, hardly ever came out. I remember Terry coming over. He hadn't been over there much, and I remember him going in the point swim. I probably got my facts a little bit wrong, but the first time he come over, I think he flicked a tiger nut out or something and had the brown fish, about 38, and he was like, oh, that's a nice carp. And we're all going, that don't come out. Hardly ever comes out. And then he got the fully, the big fully.
Yeah.
I just thought,
still in there, that one, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. One I didn't get. I got most of them. I didn't get that one. Yeah.
Big common. Again, big commons in the late 90s as well. They weren't, they were a little bit more unusual. Nowadays you see a lot more of them, don't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of big commons about now.
And that was on a Cemex ticket, was it, when you were fishing there? Yeah.
Cemex. I mean, like I say, I strung a few days together, I got the bait going in, it started to produce the goods. I had my first UK 40 from there, and I was talking to Jay earlier. I think the first year in 98 on there, we were like the new boys on the lake. Kind of like there's a lot of piss taking and ribbing going on between the regulars over there, all in good fun. And it was kind of like, oh, you like all you catch is the funny ones, because there's a couple of funny fish in there. One called Eric. I think, I'm not sure if I caught it first or Jay caught it. It was like a cut and shut. It had a big drop back on it, a load of ball patches. Ugly old thing, but I was over the moon catching that. Coming like a bleating, just coming like a bag of rubbish or something, just coming on the top, like, it didn't fight. So I caught that, Jay caught it. I think there's another one called the Delinquent, which was a crazy carp. I could tell you some stories about that fish, but the Delinquent showed itself a lot. And when it showed itself, it was with all the other fish, or with a load, normally with a lot of other carp. I heard a story once in the point, there's a bough of a tree coming out, and it used to crash out there, and it crashed out and knocked itself out. It was just laying on top of the water,
really?
And then it uprighted itself and swam off.
Yeah.
And then I was in we called it the chicken swim, and then down to the right was like a overhanging willow, like a canopy. And I see that, I was watching it, and it was upside down on the surface, looking like it was dead, with its pecs like that, all the underside just sticking up. And I'd be going, oh, something wrong with that fish. And it started swimming round in circles like it, going round. I thought, that's not well. And then it'd just go, and flip up the right way and swim off.
Weird,
it's just come back and do it again,
Yeah.
So Jay caught that. So we had the Delinquent, Eric. And then we caught Jacko's Common, the pair of us. And then I remember one of them going, "Oh, you boys, you catch all the funny ones, don't you?" And I think our other mate, Neil Lum, another good member of the gang, he ended up catching Searcher. And my mate Craig caught Searcher. And then it was like, hold on, these boys are starting to catch a few now. And it slowly went on. I think I caught Cluster. I think I had it twice that year. And that was the first year. And then didn't catch a lot, but we was holding our own, if you know what I mean. And then the second year, the start of the season, I had a hardtail, which was like never ever in my
hardtail Gertie one, yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd catch it, like, you know.
Bloody, you do look tired there, Jerry, don't
mate,
you?
Yeah.
You think he looks a bit tired there?
I was going to say, did that give you a good battle?
Yeah. Well, all the lack of sleep.
Don't know, probably lack of sleep, mate.
Yeah.
I was in the wine bar. I probably had the wine bar then. I was probably working every night under the sun and then getting down there for a couple of days, like, you know.
That's a nice
look at the old clothing raw there, not a bit of camo inside.
No. It's far away from carp fishing. Yeah. You talked about the wine bar as well. I mean, why did you stop? Why did you stop that?
What, the wine bar?
Yeah.
5 years of that as well. It's another chapter in my life.
Yeah. When
you first get a job like that, it's fantastic. You think it's really, really the thing, like, you know. And then when you're dealing with people drinking and all that comes with that, it's not such a nice. I didn't enjoy it really.
You got to be a social sort of person
mate. What I look back on now and think I had 5 years of missing my kids grow up really, because I was getting in late, 1 o'clock at night. The kids are in bed, and I was getting up because I've been working all day and all night. I was watching telly till 2 a.m. to try and catch up on a bit of real life. So then I'm laying in to about 9:30. My kids are at school. So I was missing them in the morning, missing them at night. I used to work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday and then go fishing the other days.
Where was the wine bar?
Up in Gants Hill.
Right.
Called Hobnobs.
What's that, near where you live now, is it? Or is
no, not where I am now. It's over near Ilford.
All right.
So it was it's not far from Faces Nightclub around the corner.
Right.
And it was a busy bar. But that come with its problems, and
yeah, I bet.
I just had enough of all that, you know. Everyone that walks through that door is a potential nutcase, and generally they are around that area. You know what I mean? And you've got to put up with that. And
what were you, the manager?
Yeah. I was a very young I had a landlord. I when I got my publican's licence, and my father-in-law bought a pub as well in Loughton. A big pub restaurant, and I had the licence for that as well. So I was like in my mid-20s, and I was a publican, like, you know. Even when I went to court for my licence, you had to go to a proper court. And the judge said, "You're a young licensee, like, you know, well done."
One of the younger
What experiences you got? I said quite a few years in Northern Ireland. She went, granted, and I got my licence, like, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hard work.
It's funny how you fall into these things, isn't it? Did you coming out of the army? I guess you just want a complete change from what you were doing previously then.
Coming out the army, I just wanted to earn some money.
Yeah.
There was, you know, when I first came out the army, one of my mates let me work in his greengrocers. I was just like unloading the lorries. That was hard graft and all that, and he'd give me a wage. I also done, my mother and father-in-law bought a nightclub, Epping Country Club. I don't know if you ever knew it.
Right.
Well, they bought that. And I used to work on the door there as a youngster. I was only in all these great big doormen, like, you know.
Well, it sounded like you could look after yourself a bit, so...
I tried.
Any scraps, I bet?
Hey?
Any scraps?
Up there? Like gunfight at the OK Corral every night. Every Friday and Saturday. It was crazy. Always fighting up there, like, you know. And as time went on and the villains got even more scarier with weapons and everything else, you just got more of a daily sort of... you know, you don't know what's coming next.
Well, Ilford area as well. I mean,
that was Gants Hill. Sorry, the Epping Country Club's over in Chigwell Way. We was there. I was there for quite a few years, and I was doing the door there and working the greengrocers just to earn a living. And then
you had all the Essex boys stuff around there, didn't you? Was that was
more over further Essex way,
was
like,
it?
You know.
Yeah.
But you know, every job has its problems, but that had a lot of problems working on the door and running nightclubs and bars. Just like, I realised it weren't really my vocation in life.
So where was where did you change from there? What was
I started getting back into my fitness stuff. Also when I got out of the army, I ran a health club in Romford, as well as doing the greengrocers, as well as doing the door. So I'd done health club, greengrocers 3 days a week, health club a few days a week. And in the end I was just at the health club every day, give the greengrocers up, but doing door nights, 4 nights a week. And then from there, I can't think what I'd done. I think I was quite young when I went into the wine bar for 5 years, And then I went and at the Epping Country Club. I run the health club there, and just really got into my training and that. And it wasn't until moving into Carthagena that I just sort of kind of give up on everything else and just concentrated on
normal life stuff.
Fishing and
Didn't someone come into someone come into a wine bar and said to you, want to try out some extras work?
Oh no, that was when I was at the Epping Country Club as a health club manager.
Right.
And that's how it kind of all started. That's what kicked that off. There was a guy there, I can't quite remember his name, but he used to be in a lot of adverts.
Right.
And I remember seeing him in adverts. He was one of my staff, one of my gym instructors. And I asked him about it. I said, how'd you get involved in this sort of stuff like? And he went, there's a few agencies he belonged to, and he just got a lucky break, and he got an acting agent, and he ended up getting quite a lot of work. And he says, you want to give them a go? They do a lot of stuff with ex-military people, and one of them was, I think you know, Casting Collective.
Yeah, I was with Casting Collective.
Right, well, you know, they do a lot of stuff like that. And another one was 2020. 2020 was the first one I rung up, and a lot of it was military stuff, but a lot of it was anything to do with weapons, villains, and whatever. It was all that sort of stuff. So
what did you think? I mean, these people that have got, you know, they're extras. They're not actors, but they've still got agents as well. So they're living the life of an actor, but they're extras. I mean, back then as well. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was a bit more money in that industry as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Again, it's in your book here, but I remember you said when you went off to your first. Did you ring the agency first, and then?
Yeah, I rang the agency through this guy giving me the number. I think it was 2020, and just said to them, like, I've been told about your agency. Are your books open? Are you taking anyone on? And she said no. She said we're not at the moment, but this was kind of like May time. She said, but if you ring back in September when our books reopen, you can come in and we'll take some photos and we'll take it from there, sort of thing. So I said, all right, yeah, fine, no probs. And she said, by the way, have you got any military experience? And I thought, well, yeah. And I said, I have, like, told her what I'd done. She said, oh, excellent. She said, we've got a project coming up. She said, if you want to, we'll ring you back. She said, if we don't ring you back by Friday, this is the beginning of the week, we'll either ring you on Monday. If you don't hear from us, ring us back. So all weekend I'm telling everyone that this agency's ringing me up and all that, and towards Monday I thought they ain't going to ring me. And then out of the blue I got a phone call. She said, would you be able to go for an interview? And I said, well, yeah, well. She said, we need you to go to the OTC. It's like an officer training centre in Cannon Street. Be there for 12 o'clock midday. So I was like, yeah, no problem. So I'm buzzing now. I don't know what to expect. I'm turning up at this building.
And you said you were talking to people like all week that you were going for this audition.
I'm going for this audition. I thought it was just me, I'm going to be in a film. I really didn't know what to expect, what they had in mind or what was going on. And I've turned up and there must have been 100 people queuing up outside.
Bit deflating.
Yeah, this building, and they're all rattling on about, I've been in the bill last week and I've done London's Burning, and I'm thinking, I'm out of my depth here, but I felt all right. I was in good shape. I was confident, and I went in, the doors opened at midday and all these people came out that had just been in the previous interview or whatever. So we've gone in, they sat us on great big tables, probably 10 or 12 to a table. We had a sheet of paper in front of us and we had to fill out this form. And someone from the agency got up and said, look, while you're filling out these forms, one of the agencies walking round, he said, if he likes the look of any person in particular, you'll get a tap on the shoulder. You're then to go and join that queue for an interview. So
you were waiting for a tap on the shoulder. Yeah,
I know.
Come on, where are you?
All these lot on this table are all pros. Like, they've done everything, and I'm just no one, and I'm filling out my form and I get a tap on the shoulder, and the whole table scowled at me like as if to say, how comes he got tapped on the shoulder?
They were jealous.
Yeah, so I could see over the other side of this building there was a queue going on to get in, and I could hear a load of screaming and shouting like from some American guy in this room. Didn't really know what it was about. A guy on the outside was he was dressed in 1940s Rangers outfit, like American Rangers infantry outfit with the gaiters and all that. And I thought, what's going on here? And it was like, next soldier, like that. And they're marching in, name, rank, number. And I could hear this American guy bellowing and shouting in there. And then it was my turn, and it was like, next soldier. And I've got marching in, slam my tabs in.
Just think you're in army mode again.
That's how you had to act.
You had to, yeah.
So name, rank, number, blah, blah, blah. And he's just asking me about my military career. And he's in full uniform, complete lunatic, right? He's in full uniform, big silver moustache. He's been in the Marines and been to Vietnam and all that. A lunatic, like, little did I know he was Spielberg's military advisor.
You didn't know it was a Steven Spielberg film?
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything.
Right.
And what happened in my favour, stood next to him was a guy representing the agency 2020. And anyone that came in, and if the captain who was asking the questions didn't understand anything because we're English and they're American and the military is a bit different, he was kind of relaying to him, well, that's because he done this, sir, and that's because he done that. And it's unbelievable. But this guy, his name was Robin, he was a major in the British Army attached to my regiment while I was out in Northern Ireland. He was an int officer.
Oh, that's handy.
And everything I was talking about, he kind of knew because he was over there at the time. And I was in a platoon called COP platoon, COP, and they're a close observation platoon. It's a type of unit that you had to do a selection for, a mini selection. I mean, we'd done like the fan dance, similar to the SAS selection, and we were the elite of 600 lads in this regiment. And he was relaying to this captain everything that I was telling him, explaining what I was. So it's going on for ages. The captain, I was floating his boat. He was really interested in what I was saying. And then right at the end, he kind of come to the end of the interview, and he said, "Now tell me, Hammond." He said, "Was you what else did you do?" I said, "I was a physical training instructor towards the end of my career." And he went, "Was you a mean son of a gun?" I said, "I was very mean." He went, "You're a good soldier." He said, "I want you in my movie." He was giving it all that. I was like, what is going on here? It was like straight over my head, but I was loving it. And he was overjoyed with what I said, because I said I was a mean son of a gun. He said, "I want you in my movie." And I thought, what is this movie? But whatever it is, I'm in by the looks of it. So with that, I was took outside and measured up as a German soldier, and was going to play a German soldier in Saving Private Ryan, one of 60. There was 60 German soldiers. And because I knew this Robin guy was in the same regiment as me, we kind of got on all right. And on the actual film set, they split us into two groups of 30, and we had like a location in a big marquee where we sort of rested and had all our kit, but always ready to move at any time. And they made me in charge. There I am in the middle there. That's Robin stood next to me on the right.
Where are you?
At the very front.
So we're looking at a picture now of all you guys.
Yeah, that's the Germans.
Yeah.
I'm at the right. I'm at the front there with a Schmeiser MP40.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Centre stage there, Jerry.
Yeah, of course. And stood next is Robin. Now he was the major attached to me out in Northern Ireland. Can you see him on the right hand side?
Yeah.
So
he does look a bit mean.
Yeah, we all look mean. We was all proper good Germans. We were.
And all these guys in this picture, were they all military?
Yeah.
Right.
Most of them all military.
Yeah.
All good lads. Some of them went on to become stunt guys. Some of them actors. You know, they all had. It was like for a lot of them, it was like the first big project they'd done.
Was it?
It was absolutely mind blowing being on that, mate. I could not even express it.
And to walk into a really big movie straight away as well.
Yeah. Well, me and him at the front there, we run all the German extras on the movie. So I was made I think it's the equivalent, I maybe pronounce it wrong, but it's a Huberstofführer. It's like a German sergeant major who was in the Das Reich. We were the SS. And we were all the Germans, that lot there are all the Germans, apart from the background ones, that were right up front in all the battle scenes and Ramel, the big battle at the end. And it was just absolutely amazing. All the weapons were authentic. They were all blank firing, real weapons.
So were you encouraged to so essentially you feel like you're back in the army again when you're doing that?
Everything was run very military way. I mean, that's how all the stuff I've done in film work has always been. If it's military, it's done very, very... I mean, it's all run as a military operation on our part because we're all playing soldiers and we have to play the part properly. And you would not believe how big that was. I mean, look at the film set behind. They built a whole town like that. You know, and they was blowing it up. And the final scene in the Ramel, if you ever watch it, the final scene when the Mustangs are coming in, and we had such a battle. The word was coming down from Spielberg, down all the directors, to get everyone on set for the final scene. And my immediate guy above me would say, Jerry, just take everyone out in your 30 and get me. I was doing a little bit of choreograph in the main battle. I put a team in a gun nest and put some blokes doing that and a couple of blokes over there. And basically, like when they want it done yesterday. Like, and the word comes down the chain of command, and it's like, just get out there and get it set. So Robin's going to me, just take your lot over there. He said, I've got Dale Dye on my case, like the military advisor, screaming and hollering, because it's coming down through the ranks. And basically I went out there and choreographed a few little positions and put people in. So, you know, I worked hard for the agency.
You found your place there.
That set me up with that agency because I worked really hard for them. And because of how hard I worked for them, I got that little piece at the end I spoke about earlier with Spielberg telling me to stand there and all that, because I got put up to do that.
Spielberg.
You ain't going to just...
just Spielberg told me to.
Yeah, I was in the right place at the right time, and because I worked hard, and the enormity of... I mean, the main battle at the end was crazy. I mean, if you can imagine, like 3 streets leading to this bridge, every street had the special effects guys, you'd hear them say, light the fires, and they lit all rubber tyres all around the street, so black smoke was coming up. And then in every building, you had a bloke walk down the streets with a paintball gun type thing, but it had balls of flint in it. And they go, right, turn on the gas in so-and-so house, turn the gas on in that house. Basically, they had little gas pipes coming in each house where they wanted fire. So the bloke walked down the street when he was told, firing a flint ball into each window to start the flames going. So you got all flames coming out of the houses, black smoke rising beyond. And then there was the special effects of planted bombs and squibs. Squibs, you know, when the soldiers run along, you see all the puffs of smoke coming up. They were everywhere. They got these great big sort of concave boxes that they tuck into the bank and fill it full of debris. They were all done on, they had like a remote control. Everywhere you went, there's bombs going off. And we had 2 Mustang aeroplanes en route, and the action was going to start when the Mustangs come over. And there was Tiger tanks there was burning scenes, there was guys getting Monoff cocktails thrown at them, like stunt guys getting caught alight. It was red hot as well, the sun was out. And it all built up to this grand finale. I heard the planes are 30 seconds away, and it was 15 seconds, action! And we just went to war. Everyone was firing. The scene went on for so long, they had trouble stopping us. We nearly
get a bit carried away.
We nearly changed the script.
We really are at war.
Well, we nearly changed the script and took the bridge, like, you know. That's how good.
You?
They were telling us to stop. They were laughing, like, you know. Probably come to thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds just that one scene. And if you can imagine, I'm in the middle of, I know what I've got to do, but it's a real battle in my mind. I've got Tiger tanks coming over the ridge, bombs going off all around me, aeroplanes frighteningly coming low overhead, and the scream from the engines and the smell of diesel, and it was just the realest I'd probably ever get in my life to being in a war.
So who's speaking to the aircraft then and
just
directing
all
the
on
aircraft?
radio and stuff.
They're all
like
on radio talking.
Yeah.
So Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's obviously at the centre of all of this.
Yeah,
while it's,
he's there running around and, well, not running, just organising it all. Like, Harry visualised it, and it was a great scene to be part of.
Is it interesting watching someone like that? You're probably one of the greatest director of all time, at least one of them. Watching him work.
Yeah,
just another guy, or
he was the boss.
He was the boss.
Boss man.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, that's why I talk about it. I mean, in my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd be doing that. I can imagine doing it as an extra right in the background, but we were in the foreground. We was there with everyone doing like everything, you know.
Yeah, we said earlier, didn't we, that I'd listened to your Jamie the Carp podcast when you were talking about that, and this is probably 6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, it must be.
It's something like that, and I remember, and I always interested listening to what you were talking about, and I ended up getting into that as well, and not to the same level that you did. I didn't do. I mean, you've gone on to do a lot of other stuff with that as well. I found the first time I'd done that, I was at college and stuff at the time, and I just needed some part-time work. Yeah. And the first time I turned up on one of those, I thought all these extras are just they're fantasists.
Yeah. They're like, they all talk shop, don't they?
They all talk shit, really.
That's what I meant.
I mean, they do.
I was being polite.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm swearing too much, Tove, aren't I, really? We don't normally talk like this on the podcast.
You're showing your feelings.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I was talking to one guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm at RADA at the moment," and I don't reckon you are.
No.
Every time we had to do like a scene, it's like, that guy doesn't know how to act. And I remember, and I came away from it, and I thought, it's a weird experience, isn't it, working on a film, especially with something like Saving Private Ryan, when you see all that, and then you see it on the big screen, it looks so much different.
Crazy.
But I remember doing that and thinking that I'd done one. It was over at Cobham, and
that's Guildford way, isn't it?
Surrey.
Surrey.
Yeah, in this amazing house. It was really atmospheric, like filming it. And like you say, there are so many people in the rooms as well, and
tons.
You don't realise how many cameras there are. But I thought, I don't really fancy doing too much more of this. And then the casting agency rang me up and said, a TV commercial. So I'd done a TV commercial, and then from TV commercials, then I started doubling for actors.
Brilliant. That's a good job. That stand-in and doublings are the one.
Yeah, like I say, no, I done Da Vinci's Demons, and I doubled for the guy from The Pianist, and I got into modelling through that because I thought that the money was much
better.
The guy that was the star of The Pianist, and Thomas Kretschmann, his name was.
Right.
I looked him up, obviously, like you do, don't you? Because you're on set and you're dressed the same as him and you're looking at him. I remember actually being on set with him, and he was with this, he was going out with this girl called Brittany Rice. I think Brittany Rice. And he was getting off with her on set.
Oh God!
I mean, it was like the guy, and I was listening to the director talking about him, and he was into all sorts. But anyway, you think
they're in a different world.
They are in a different world. Mm. And I remember listening and looking up this guy, and he was like a Hugo Boss model, and I thought, what if he's a Hugo Boss model, and I've and I'm doubling for him? I might as well try.
Yeah.
And it's funny with connections, what you say with connections, because I wrote an email to the biggest modelling agencies in London.
Yeah.
Just a random email saying, "Oh hi, I'm 40 years old. I might be a bit past it, but are you looking for models?" And it's like something that I've never had any. You were almost I'm talking about it on the podcast now, but at the time you'd be embarrassed to even sort of talk about it. And none of them replied. One of them replied. Sandra Reynolds replied back, and I don't know if you've heard of Sandra Reynolds.
Not sure, mate. Probably may have done.
So they replied back, and this woman replied back. Her name was Krista, and she said, "Oh yeah, I was modelling when I was like 40 years old." And she said, "Oh, send me your pictures, and we'll let you know within 2 weeks or whatever." And I forgot all about it. Went on an expedition, and when I was at the top of this mountain in my tent, thinking, "What am I going to do?" I'm like, "Do you know? I must send those pictures off to that." And I sent the pictures directly to her, and I found out now normally you have to send them through their website, and they get hundreds every week. But I sent the pictures directly to her, so she actually got
a lot of.
I bypassed it all. And I've done a bit of that as well. But I mean, that industry is difficult to. It's
difficult to get your foot in the door. But I've got a lot of mates that have really done well. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of Paul Bennett. But he is. I worked with him on the thing called The Knock years ago.
I remember The Knock.
All about the.
Who was in that?
I can't remember who was in it. It was all about the what do they call them?
I watched it. Yeah, it was on ITV, wasn't it?
Yeah, just trying to think what it was about. It was about.
It was a dark police drama, wasn't it?
It was about when they're bringing stuff in illegally into the country and all that. What's the what they called it, the airport, the
customs.
That's who they were, right? My mind went in, and I'd done a few jobs with him we was on a ship and with a load of Russians and all that, all good stuff. You get a few features and that. But Paul now, he then went on to becoming a runner. I won't go into it all, but then he became an AD. Then he got his third AD, then his second AD, and I think he was a second AD on Midsomer Murders now for a long time, and he got a lot of people work, and. He rung me up because he's a mate of mine. He's a carp angler, and he rung me up out the blue one day to be in the Midsomer Murders, and you have got a picture of it somewhere. And with a group of mercenaries, and I got a couple of machines. There's a guy in it who's the main actor stood with me, and two other guys with great big knives, and I had to drive this great big 4-tonner, old vintage 4-tonner truck with no power steering or nothing down this ridge. It looked like we was out in Somalia or something like that, and it was crazy. Really good little part, and it was a bit scary driving that, but I ended up doing that through Paul, as have there we go.
Oh, we got all the pictures. Well done, Tove.
Well, see that old 4-tonner truck, or that old truck, that Bedford, I had to drive that up and down this, see that quarry behind, with all these guys on the back, all these mercenaries, and then we got out and killed a load of people in this village. But see the guy on the right.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a film called London Boulevard?
Yeah.
Well, that's him. He's one of the actors in it.
Really?
He's the blonde guy, I think, that kills Ray Winston at the end.
Yeah, I think I've seen. Yeah.
And I was
London
chatting to
Boulevard.
it. It's really weird. I was chatting to him. We'd just done a scene. We was walking back to reset. And I said to him, I watched a good film last night. And I was telling him the film I watched. And he went, that's me. He said, I was in it. I went, no way. His hair was blonde in that. But yeah, small world.
Hey, talking of Midsomer Murders, did you see Midsomer Murders the other night?
I've not seen it for a while.
Well, it was all about carp fishing.
Oh, no, because, I see it on Facebook.
I never watched that, right? But I walked past the TV the other night and I saw it on. Oh, my God. I'm not sure if it's a good advert for carp fishing or not. It was like...
I heard, I ain't seen it, but I did hear. And Paul Bennett would have probably got them the job, my mate Paul. But apparently... he was second AD on that, which is quite high up. But I've heard now he's moved on to even bigger things. So he started off as an extra, and now he's probably a first AD.
That's how people get into it.
He probably could end up being a director one day. You just don't know.
Yeah. So what others? You said you nearly got in the fighting scene on Gladiator as well.
Yeah, I went for an audition at Shepperton Studios. There's a place called the David Lean Building, and they do auditions there. And there was a group of American stunt guys over. Didn't know what the film was for. I had to learn. There you go. I had to learn a
So, what's this picture we're looking at now?
That's on Gladiator.
Nice.
Took a bad flesh wound to the arm there.
Yeah,
See
I
that?
can see. Yeah, nasty.
Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah.
So I went for this audition, and there was a guy there who was Wesley Snipes standing, really in good shape. And I picked him as a partner because I just thought he looked good, and me and him fighting together. So we had to do these fight routines. So he was given a wooden sword and a wooden shield. He was given 2 fight routines to learn, and we practiced them all day long. I mean, we were sweating our heads off. We really put a lot into it. And I said to the guy who knew more than I did, I said, what is this for? And he said, well, there's a film coming up, a Roman film, Gladiator film. He said, if we get picked, he said, we're going to be in the arena as gladiators with Russell Crowe. I said, oh, wow. I said, that's good. He said, yeah, it's 6 weeks in Malta and 5 or 6 weeks in Morocco, filming all the arena scenes, which I later found out, And, yeah, absolutely amazing. So apparently they'd been auditioning for 2 or 3 weeks for these characters. And me and the guy, I can't remember his name, but we went up to the American stunt guy who filmed us and said, how did we do? How did it come across? He said, well, you and your mate there, you do the best 2 we've had come through. It was like, oh, brilliant. And as we parted that day, he said, I'll see you in Morocco. Like that. And I thought, with practice, little did I know what it would have been like later on. And sadly, there was a pay dispute of some description with Equity, and they took a load of American stunt guys instead, and we didn't get the part. But I still worked on the big fight scene, as you see in Gladiator, in front of the camera, but it's hard to see anyone. We had all rabbit skins around our heads and God knows what. Freezing cold in the woods, fighting late. We had to roll around in all the water to get all like snow everywhere. It was hard work, mate. Hard work, but I worked on that for quite a few weeks. That was. It
is hard work, that though, isn't it? They're long days, aren't they? And
they want to get everything they can for their money.
They do,
and,
yeah.
It's a very expensive project, isn't it, making a film, and they need to get everything they can out of you.
I find that a lot of anything like that, modelling, acting, whatever. There's an awful lot of sitting around as well.
Lots. Yeah. And we used to do that because I didn't mention, but I've done Band of Brothers as well for a year.
Yeah.
And I was part of the crew on that. Really, I was on it for a whole year.
That looked really cool as well.
Amazing. That was a grand finale for me when I done that. I kind of thought, it's not going to get a lot better than this.
So, I mean, with that as well, did you? Yeah, there were some well-known people on that cast as well.
Yeah. I mean, David Schwimmer, Dexter Fletcher, Donnie Wahlberg, to name a few. And quite a few of the actors on it, American guys, are quite big actors in the States. Like,
David Schwimmer, yeah.
David Schwimmer, yeah. But there's a few others doing. I don't watch them, but they're in a few other like police dramas and stuff like that. That was just a bit of time out on Band of Brothers.
Were you told when you turned up on that when you turn up for work, you are in the army? You are in the army. You get straight into army mode all the time while you're on set. Well,
what we've done, we got selected first of all to be part of 20. These guys here, they're all my mates. We were all what they call special ability soldiers. We were to rub off on the actors. We were to make them look good. And everyone else beyond us, 20, were all background, but we were up front. So we could be sitting in a trench and you're an actor and I'm a special ability extra, or whatever you call a special ability actor. And the camera's there and everything. When I'm in front of the camera a lot. Don't get so much talking because the American accent was quite hard to do. You would have had to have speech therapy lessons and all that. And they've got so many different accents, upstate New York and whatever. But we did get words here and there. But we was in front of the camera. It didn't matter to us. I had a job for a year while I was on that. The film was going to take it, the series was going to take a year. I was going to work for a year. And to make it even more authentic, they sent us all away on a 10-day boot camp. And we drove down by coach from Hatfield Studios, because a lot of it was filmed there again. And then when we got there, all our mobile phones were handed in. We was all in that uniform, and we went through 10 days training. No, everything was done to military standard as it would have been in 1940s. Even done drill, parachute training. We went to I think it's Neverhaven and done all our parachute training as it was then. Unarmed combat. We've done everything. It was just crazy. Every morning, you probably got a picture somewhere of us on our boot camp that we'd done. It was all put in like 1940s billets, and at night I had David Schwimmer opposite me and Donnie Wahlberg in the net, and it's quite funny. David Schwimmer was cracking jokes all night, and watching him later on, there we are. I look a bit young there. Yeah, there's a few of the actors at the back.
You always are you at the front again?
Yeah, that's me on the front.
You're always sneaking at the front as well, Joe. Make sure you're right in the middle of the shot there,
of course,
don't you?
mate. If I'm going to be in it, I'm going to be in it. You know, we was doing night manoeuvres and all sorts. Like we worked hard on it. We really did work hard.
Yeah.
And they paid us well. But they had us out all night doing all sorts, like mock battles, and some of them were funny. Like the captain, who's in another picture you've got, the one who's you got to see a picture of him, Spielberg's military advisor. He took it very seriously. We got promotion and everything. Like, I got promoted one day to a corporal, and it was a proper parade and everything. Yeah. Everything was done, but
that keeps it authentic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was good.
It works. Yeah,
it was good. I mean, we'd done a whole 10 days of that. It was quite a relief to get home after it. I thought, blimey, there we go. That's him in the middle. That's Captain Dale Dye in the middle. And he's still going today. He's still making film. He just made a war film a little while ago, directed it himself, I think.
Right.
But he's done like, I think he done Hamburger Hill and Full Metal Jacket and all them films. Like, he's involved in all of them. An absolute character. I mean, we used to go out for a drink with him sometimes, and he'd be calling my character name in Band of Brothers. He'd be going, Sergeant Higgins, get the rounding. Calling me Sergeant Higgins, that was my name in it all the time. Like, okay.
You can see how these actors. I mean, like Heath Ledger's a good example, isn't it? Like after playing the Joker, and you spend so much time in that character.
Yeah.
And Johnny Depp, people like that, they're method actors, and they get so absorbed into those characters. When you see them away from acting, they're quite unusual people, aren't they? And it's like they've got the mix of all the different characters.
They're not in their world anymore, are they?
No, and they're so good at acting. They're so good at what they do that they must keep those characters.
I think they do. I think they get so into it. I mean,
they have to.
Yeah, I was quite amazed by the English actors that spoke American, because they were so good at it.
My friends, very good friends with Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead.
Right.
He's good. They're good friends, and I mean, when you see him on Walking Dead, you think he's American, don't you?
Like Damian Lewis.
Yeah.
He played the leading role as an American.
Yeah. Damian Lewis has been doing really well. Yeah. I mean, we've got some good actors, haven't we, in the UK?
Yeah, we have. The only thing I wished I'd have done, looking back now, is had to take it further. I should have got out of the army and gone to drama school. Because we all think we can act, but you ain't really as good as...
You want to hear about my acting audition?
Yeah, go on.
I went to Elra in London for an acting audition. I wanted to go to the college first of all to have a look round before I decided whether I wanted to actually try and put myself forward for this stuff. But I missed the train for the open day, and I spoke to them on the phone, and they said, well, look, we're doing our last auditions next week.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not ready to audition. I said, well, what's the audition? They said, it's really, it's only 2 monologues. One's Shakespeare. I can't remember any Shakespeare. And there was one contemporary one. And I had a girlfriend at the time. You know, like how a woman can convince you that you can really do something, and you think you're like Superman. It was a bit like that. And I'll turn up for the audition. So I had 1 week to learn, apart from Midsummer Night's Dream, and I can't remember the temporary bit, right? And I got the Shakespeare stuff down. Well, I thought it was probably bloody awful, but I got the Shakespeare down all right. But to be able to remember 2 5-minute monologues in a week was just too much. And I remember getting on the train and going up to London on the Saturday. And my friend, she was on the phone. She would go, "Yeah, you'll be fine." She was American. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll kill it. You'll get it. Like, I don't know. Got it. And I'm on a train, right? And I've forgotten every single line. I've forgotten it all, right? To the point, right? It's like I don't even. I was on the train, right? And I was trying to remember my lines, and there was this little kid sat next to me on the train. I had my T-shirt over my head, with my head in there, trying to remember the lines.
He was a lunatic.
Well, I wasn't I? And I turn up for the audition, and I've late, 20 minutes late, and there were 4 other people there who were all excellent actors, and we had to walk around this. Room. She said, "Right, go walk around the room." It was just the person that was auditioning us. Walk around the room and start whispering your lines to your contemporary monologue. And I thought, I can't even remember it. They're all walking around the room, and they've done all the auditions around the big drama schools. They're all. I'm just talking crap. I don't even know what I'm talking about, right? And she said, "Right, get louder, and start shouting it." And I'm shouting this stuff, and I don't even know. It's not
what it should be.
It's not what it should be. And I walked back in, right? And she said, "Right, we'll call you out one by one for these auditions." And I thought, I'm in trouble here.
Yeah.
I can't. I've gone completely blank. She calls me in, right? And she said, "Right, when you're ready." I've never done any of this in front of. She said, "Right, when you're ready, just go."
Yeah.
And she said, "Right, okay, go." And I went, "Sorry, can I start again?"
You hadn't even started.
I hadn't even started, and I had to start again. Second
God.
time, I said, "Right, go." And I remembered, and it all came back to me. The whole contemporary monologue, which completely went out of my mind,
came back.
Well, 3/4 of it came back, right? So I'm 3/4 of the way through, and I can remember, right? And it must have been a horrendous acting performance. It's probably one of the worst she's ever seen. But I remember getting 3/4 of the way through it and thinking, "Do you know what? I'm nearly at the end.
I'm nearly there."
And then when I finished, I stopped, and I was doing it to the wall.
Yeah.
And I turned around to her, and she said, "Oh, have you finished?"
Oh, God.
And I went, "Yeah."
He wasn't even listening.
Yeah, and afterwards, they call you back in afterwards. And Elra's quite a well-known drama school as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a part.
Didn't get the part?
I didn't know. I didn't get a place at the college. But do you know what, right? I think doing this sort of stuff, you know, and I think if I had to do it again, I think I could probably sing something now. Why am I saying that?
Do you know
but
what?
Anyway, it's a weird world, isn't it?
It is.
But
just one more quick thing.
Yeah, go on.
Were you saying that?
Is this a carp fishing podcast?
Sorry.
Is this going to be all right? Sorry, guys.
Last one.
Yeah.
Just funny, thinking of a mate of mine. He's an audition for everything, even if he couldn't do it. Yeah. We need a gymnast. Shut and do that. You know, do you remember on the Far Show where there's a stuntman? It was like that. It's just doing it. I can do that. And he told me one day he volunteered. Volunteered. Said he was a ballroom dancer and he was in this film, but it's all really, and they've obviously took everyone off of their CV. All the ballroom dancers are really, really good. And he said I had to go there in a tuxedo and everything. He said I was trying to hide out. He said I got thrown off of there within 10 minutes. He said I was treading on everyone and they expected I said, "You're off your head. He's supposed to be a ballroom dancer." I said, "You ever done it?" He went, "No, never." I said, "You nutcase."
You've got to pat that guy on the back.
Oh, mate. He used to do loads. We need a guy that can do a backward somersault. Yeah, I'll do that. There's a guy break his neck. Brilliant bloke.
I mean, I don't think gymnastics wouldn't be worth doing because it would not be physically possible to be able to do that. But I think I think you've got to throw yourself into stressful situations. The only way to cope with stress is to know what it feels like and overcome it.
Yeah, sure.
And that's pretty stressful.
I've got a million different scenarios I could think of, but they have to be for another times. I get told off for talking about it all too much.
No, but we love it. We love it. I'm sure everyone else will like it. It's a bit of a diversion.
Something
from
I've done,
fishing.
something I'm proud of. So. it wouldn't be right not to mention it all, would it?
No, you're a colourful character, Jerry.
Try to be.
Yeah. So where were you carp fishing anyway at this time? I mean, when you were doing all this, were you doing all this film stuff? I mean, were you thinking about carp fishing much?
All the time.
Yeah.
Oh Christ! When I was working on Band of Brothers, I was fishing Tolpits, and then when I first got, I think it was Ryan Saving Private Ryan, I was on Sutton. So what I was doing over on Tolpits, I was fighting the World War II battle, and then going getting the rods out every evening over Tolpits.
So that wasn't too far from there, was it?
No, Hatfield. I was in Hatfield, so yeah, it was quite mad. The amount of times I was on the lake, just got set up, got the rods out on any particular lake, buzzing like, oh, lovely evening. I get the old phone call off the agency. Are you available tomorrow? And you're like, oh, how can you turn it down? Do you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, what's up? And the worst thing is, if you agree to do it and it's a crap job and you think, why did I do that? I could have had the rods out. But 9 times out of 10, because I had a good relationship with the agent, like, they always tended to know I didn't want to do anything crap. So I ended up always saying, yeah, I'm available. So I packed my gear up and cursed myself all the way home, going mental. So I had to go home, missing my beloved fishing, you know?
Yeah. Well, you can make up for it now anyway, can't you?
I certainly am.
I mean, Tolpits, it looked like you got on there at a quieter time when you first started fishing there, or was it... I
got on there. It was the obvious move after Sutton, I think.
Yeah.
Quite a few of the boys were sort of moving from one lake to another, and I went on to Tolpits.
A lot of anglers on there at the time.
I think Terry was there because he moved on there.
God, he liked following you around, or did you follow Terry around?
Follow me everywhere.
He followed you everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It's a shame he can't follow you into the studio.
I'll tell you one thing
Jerry.
he's bleating good at is choosing a good carp to go and fish for. He's very good at it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how, but I also wanted to fish there, and so did a few others. I think Jim Shelley got a ticket later on. Stuart, I met Stuart.
Good friend of mine, he is.
Yeah, Stuart.
Yeah.
I remember him fishing with mussels straight out a little jar or something.
I read his chapter, yeah.
Caught a 28 pounder on a mussel. I remember that. He was a little bit, when I first met him.
He was thinking outside the box a bit there, wasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. It was a little bit, not facey, but a little bit standoffish at first, you know. But I soon broke that. He was all right.
You caught a carp, didn't you? And you forced him to have to break out of his fishing and help you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember. But
no, that was over at Croxley, I think. Wasn't
Croxley, yes. Yeah, I knew him well then.
Yeah.
He's funny bloke.
Tolpits, so you did catch plodder?
Yeah, I didn't get the other one. I lost.
What were they called in there?
Leicesters and plodder.
3 of them.
Then I had the leather out of there, which is a cracking carp. I didn't catch a lot. I had a few off the top. I had another fish there. I believe it's still in there, called Jerry's Fish. I think it's nearly 40 pounds.
What, was it named after you?
They did, but I never knew. Jim Shelley was taking a photo of it one day down in the corner for someone, and I walked past. I said, "What's he got?" And he looked around and went, "Jerry's Fish." And I never knew they'd called it Jerry's Fish.
Jim Shelley said this.
Yeah, and I went, "Don't be stupid." I was thinking he was taking the piss, like, you know. And I went, "No, what's he got?" He went, "Jerry's Fish." I went, "All right, blimey." All
right, I'll take that.
Because I walked past.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jerry's Fish, and didn't realise that they'd called it that. So they called it Jerry. I think it's still in there. I'm not sure.
So. And seeing Tails' book and stuff, I mean, that iconic picture where he's got the screen in front of him and he's fishing in the margins. Yeah. I mean, was all the fishing like that on there when you were there?
It was very, very intricate, very close, and yeah. I mean, funny enough, me and Stuart once, I came out in a draw once, and Stuart had I can't remember the swims, but it might have been called the Telegraph, and it is literally you look over the front of the swim and it's there. Literally, I've never fished that close, like ridiculous. And Stuart had that swim, and I was very close, kind of like a social session, really, because I don't think I got a good draw. I think I come out last, and it was crazy because we couldn't really get up out of our umbrellas were so low. The rods were just poking out of all camo nets everywhere, and
you'd be tripping over anglers around there, wouldn't you?
You couldn't make any noise, you know, and it was quite hard, you know, just literally laying still on your bed because you just wanted to peer over the side, and it would just so happen at the time you do peer, you'd see one just swim off, and you think, damn, I've ruined it again. It was really hard. That sort. Tolpits was a sort of lake that just shut shop for like weeks at a time, never done a bite for weeks. They were quite freely getting about the lake, but just not doing no bites, like, you know. They really have got affected by the pressure, like they really did.
Again, a little bit like Sutton as well, like you say, a small pressured lake. I mean,
2 very difficult, tricky waters.
Yeah.
There's always a key though, isn't there? There's always something that
what was the key to Tolpits?
Trips them up. Tolpits. I see one guy do really well over there. Yeah, muscles. I see one guy do really well over there. I can't remember if they called him Tattoo Steve or something. He was there with his girlfriend just boiling hemp up on the bank and just tipping it with a spoon in the same spot every day, and then he caught everything.
Don't give too much away, Jerry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
he caught everything.
Yeah.
He was just tipping hemp on the same spot every single day. It was slicking off. And he caught everything and then caught them again, I think. He just caught loads. What was he fishing over the top of the hemp? Do you know?
Got a clue. That's the thing, isn't it? It's when you're getting him going on that. That's deadly.
He really did get him going. I've never seen it like that on hemp. But he really
I've seen him going like that on hemp. I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I've seen him doing it, and I spoke to Frank recently actually as well, and good old Frank.
He's a great guy. I really like Frank. Got no time for Frank.
Yeah, and the same thing. The old hemp is. So did you fish like that as well? Or?
I did fish where he got it going. I tried to do something similar, just round the corner a bit. And I remember I was with DT Baits, and they bought out. They had a base mix then. Had an enzyme in it, a digest enzyme, and I think I had that. I had like a big bag of it, like a ground bait, and I was making it into balls of ground bait with this digest enzyme. And I tried doing something different, and I was doing this and putting bait like 10 millers in it, or 12 millers or whatever in with it. And my mate Steve was fishing the other side, and in this little bay under the willow, and they just started lumping out on my spot, and he said, "What was you doing over there? The waves were coming across," and I still never had a bite. I think I had to pull out and go, and someone else went in there and had a shed load, it's like getting spots going, I think, was the key.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what really smashed it up over there was maggots, absolutely destroyed it, as it does everywhere.
You've banned those from Carthagena now.
Yeah.
I saw the sign driving in the other day, yeah.
All it is, they're hard fish to catch on Cartha. They're very hard fish to catch. And they were just giving themselves up on them maggots, and they're old. And I don't want my fish I don't want them dying too early because they've been smashed to pieces on maggots, and a fantastic method. I've caught loads myself on them, and if I'm allowed to use them, I will. But do
you allow yourself to use them on Carthagena?
Not if no one else does.
Okay. Yeah.
But during the time when we were using them, I used them to good effect. Caught loads, as did a lot of other anglers. But it just seemed to me that them old fish, they just kept coming out, and more like a fish once, maybe twice a year is coming out 5 times or something. Yeah. And I just thought, these are old. I'm going to end up finding them floating, So I banned them.
Yeah.
But for the fish's interest, not mine. I mean, I don't want them being, smashed to pieces by maggots. I want them to eat boilies. Eat what they like, but it was just getting a bit
I guess as a fishery owner, you do want them to be eating boilies, though, don't you? I mean, it's a bit better for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd assume so. The thing was, last autumn, everyone was coming over, bringing maggots over them because they heard that it done well on maggots. And
I mean, gallons of maggots as well, isn't it? It's not done in moderation,
no.
is it?
And I was bringing in a bare hook or on my hair, and bringing in like a dead black maggot on the end, where I thought they're not eating them, they're hanging around the lake bed now, rotting. And I just thought, you know what, this whole maggot thing's got to stop. And they're getting big enough without maggots, they're getting very big in there, and it can only be they're eating the boilies, they're eating them. They're just getting away with it,
Yeah.
You never see any boilies floating. Never.
Yeah.
I've put 60, 70 key out over a period of time before. Never seen none floating. They're eating it. They're just not eating your.
You think using the maggots that's a more difficult presentation for the fish to get away with? You think they can get away with boilies a lot easier?
I just think they get so preoccupied when they're on their maggots. They're just searching for the next mouthful. And your Medusa rig or whatever you're using, it's just sucked straight in without a second thought. They're just they go into overdrive on them, don't they? And it's a fantastic method. Casters, maggots.
But yeah, I guess as a fishery owner, it's not. I saw Carp Park Lake as well was another one that you fished.
Yeah.
Right at the end, really, of the era, wasn't it? They were starting to.
They was going while I was there. Well, not long after that. It was probably the most exciting place I've ever fished. The atmosphere was unreal.
Just the atmosphere.
As soon as you drove through that gate, he was on the Carp Park Lake. All them legendary fish and legendary anglers over the years. I went on Carp Park Lake 3 times, I think, in the end, till I finally settled on there. I went on there years and years ago with Jay.
What, on a leisure sport ticket?
Yeah. I think it was leisure sport then. I can't remember, but it seemed a long drive, like getting up to Reading. Me and Jay's Reading way, innit? And
Surrey, isn't it? Yeah, and dragged Jay along with you again. Then.
Yeah, Jay come up there with us, and I worked at the wine. I think I can't remember where I was working, but we'd get out there on a Friday, and you wouldn't get a swim. You'd get on the car park late, you wouldn't get a swim. It was busy, like, you know. The first time we went up there to look around, we walked around the car park lake, and there was Rob Malin on there. There was Nigel Sharp. On the pad lake was Jeff Pink.
Was Jumbo still? So Jumbo was
still there. Yeah. Everyone was there on the North Lake. Ian Welsh was there.
Yeah.
Derek Ranch. All the proper
deaf guy, yeah.
And we was kind of a bit intimidated by it, you know.
Right.
We'd come from wherever we were, and we're walking around. These are all the guys we've read about in the magazines, and you know, all these boys. And I remember seeing walk past Nigel, Jeff Pink, and then see Rob Malin in Brute's Corner, as they called it, the chair swim. Went on to the North Lake, and we was getting, let's have a look over the road. So we went and had a lap of the Match Lake, and we didn't like it as much over there. I said, no, come on, let's get back over the other side. You know, we're all right. And I remember Rob Malin going, all right, lads, been walking around a bit. He thought we wondered who we were, like.
Thieves, because they had a lot of thefts going on there, didn't they?
He probably just wondered who we were. And we said, no, we've got tickets. We just want to. We're looking round.
So what was Rob Malin like, the mafioso? Was he like the main?
I suppose,
main man, the governor.
He was fishing in Brute's Corner. I remember he had like a big dome tent up with a front door and a back door on it, so he could go right through. Yeah. And I think he had a couple. I don't know if he had staffs or he had his missus.
Didn't he masturbate a spot with particles and catch?
Probably.
Yeah, I think I remember in his.
He was fishing round into Brute's Corner.
Yeah.
But you know when you put like a kip sheet over the brambles and fish to a post and clip up down in the margins. He was doing all that.
Nice.
I can remember it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we only fished it a couple of times. I think I was still at the wine bar then, and Jay went up there one weekend on his own. And do you remember the snake fish in the North Lake?
Yeah,
he lost that. Yeah, gutted. And we decided to knock it on the head. It was just too much travelling, couldn't get the swims. So then I left it a few years and went back again when Daryl Peck was on there. And all the fish were there then, all the good ones, like, you know, Chunky and Single and all of them, Dustby and Heather, all of them, the whole team. And I done a little bit on there, but I just found it too. I wasn't into travelling, like, and I didn't like the drive. I should have stayed. I really, you know, in hindsight, I should have stayed on there, but I ended up.
When you were there, you were enjoying it.
Oh, I loved it. And then I went again. When I was on there, the first beginning of the season, we was all there before we started, and we all had a lap of the lake, and I think Mickey Barnes was running CMEX then, and I remember going round seeing what looked like a fish blown against like the tree line, you know. So they took a boat out, and we're all ready to start that day, like later on, and it was Chunky. They brought Chunky, and that was like absolutely gutting, really. I'd love to have caught that.
We got a picture of Chunky here somewhere too, haven't we?
Yeah,
it's going up on the wall. It's going to be one of our pictures. So
Chunky, that was one of the first ones I knew about. I'm not sure. I don't think Single Scale was there then. I might be wrong. But yeah, and I started fishing on there then with full blown, really, really going for it. I was allowed 48 on, 48 off, which was hard because every time you pulled off, someone else jumped in, and it was like rotated to death, like, you know. There was so many. If you sat in the chair swim looking down the lake, you'd see everyone's markers out. And there's all boats then. You couldn't cast out because the over canopies were too low, and you couldn't wade in the lake. You weren't allowed, so you had to get a boat. And if you wanted to be on the same sort of wavelength as them lot, you had to have a boat.
Yeah.
So in the end, I got a little micro cat, just a small one, and you'll see the markers going out, and then you'll see the boats going backwards and forwards all day. And then as you swap over rotors, or your 48 hours is finished, someone else turns up. Their marker went out to the same spot, because I got them all lined up all down the lake, and then their boats went out. And there was so much bait going backwards and forwards and boats going backwards and forwards. That's why it was so hard on there, I think. You know,
looking at what Darryl done on there, just turning up there and just casting out and putting boilies out. He fed
them and caught them.
Yeah.
Know? Good method, really.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked as well as that since, but
no.
You know, I think they just fell for it, like, you know, he'd done it right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
When you were on there, I mean, do you have a lot of flexibility to be able to move or anything, or was it just too busy?
It's quite tight. Yeah. you had a lot of people that were keen. It was quite tight to get swims. Often in the middle of the night, I'd hear my swim get bucketed. They'd know that I'd be going the next day, and you hear plonk behind you.
All done quite friendly.
Yeah, sometimes it's annoying though. You know, when you're laying there, think, well, I ain't going in the morning. I'm going later on in the day.
You got someone dictating to
Someone's
you that you're
bucket's
going.
there, and you're thinking, have I got to go yet?
Right.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. But the atmosphere, there was a little stall a little green stall in the swim, and it said Heather tonight on it.
Yeah.
You always wanted that in your swim, like, you know.
Was Heather the one for you?
I wanted to catch Heather and Dustbin. I really did.
I love those two. Do you know? I think I preferred the Dustbin. I don't know. Heather.
I like Dustbin.
I like the shape of Dustbin.
Dustbin's awesome. I've got one in Carthagena. Looks like that.
Yes.
I'll have to get you a picture of it. I'll tell you what. It's just like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant carp. It's one of my all-time favourite carp. I think Dustbin.
I think it's a tail, isn't it?
Yeah. That's like the same one in my lake. It's got a tail like that. Just looks just like it.
Yeah.
Luke had it. Luke had a good picture of it.
I think we put it up on the podcast. Actually.
Yeah, you probably did.
Yeah, we did. But. So you did catch her. I mean, what is it like when you get a bite there? It must be like, don't lose this.
I completely had a nightmare. I really, really did. When I look back, such an idiot, like what happened to me. I come out last in the draw, as I normally do, and I picked a swim called the Chair, and it's one of the only ones available, and it's the same one I was talking about Rob Malin was in, only I think he was fishing round into the corner. But to the left was a nice canopy that hung over, and there was a bow going out, and I remember walking out there on my circuit of the lake and see quite a big common swim underneath. So I thought, well, this is as good as anywhere. I can get a boat under there. I checked underneath it with a landing net pole. It'd all been undercut. So I thought I can get a boat down there and I can fish down there. So what did I do? I stuck one rod down the canopy, and I can remember I was using like double black tiger nuts and hemp, dropping it off with a boat. And I was using inline leads, lead core, but the lead core going around the outside of the inline lead, so the lead falls off. Little size 8 fang hooks and these black tiger nuts. Anyway, I don't know, 1 a.m. in the morning, first night of the season, it's off. Battle from hell, playing it under the canopy. It's gone out into the open water. I've heard it at the surface. It's like clooping about on the top, good fish. Managed somehow to steer it around the canopy and netted it. It was big orange. I was over the moon, I mean, of what a carp to catch. And I think it was mid-40s, something like that.
Because they were all 40-pounders then, weren't they?
I'm not too sure. I think it's quite a hard one to catch, I think. Big orange, from what I can remember.
Yeah.
So I've had this fish, and a few of the lads come round and done the photos, and I was awake buzzing all night. I was so tired the next day. And I've got up the next day, and I'm fishing out to this bar. One's under the canopy, and one's on the bar. And a few of the lads have been watching Dustbin and a stocky feeding on my hemp that I'd put out on the bar, because they could get up the tree or something. And where the rods are set up, it's quite unstable. So if one rod goes, it sets the other one off. And I remember sitting there in the sun, dribbling and that, falling asleep, like in the sun, and the rods have gone. I don't quite know what one it is, and I picked the one up where the line clip's pulled, and I'm into a fish. Ends up snagging me up or weeding me up. So we had to get the boat out. So as we've gone out on the boat with one of the bailiffs, as we're passing my canopy, Arthur's sitting there, all like £50 of it, probably £50 then. And he's sitting right near the canopy where I'd been fishing. So I remember going, morning Arthur, I said hello. We carried on out. Unfortunately, I lost the one on the end, possibly Dustbin or Stocky. Could have been either one, 50-50, like, you know. So anyway, I'm happy. Like, I've lost one, but I've had Big O. Like, possibly could have had Dustbin. Anyway, rods are back out for that evening. I can't remember the time. I don't know, about 1 a.m. again. The rod's gone. And I'm into another one. Like, freaking 3 bites on the Yateley. I'm smashing it. I'm really doing well.
That is it.
So I'm playing this fish, and it was another good one. I swear to God, the rod's bent double. It's gone out into the open water. Lead's come off. I felt it come up to the top. But stupidly, without me realising it, I'm playing it into the canopy. And it's all lovely shallow gravel there. I could have quite easily walked out there and played it the other side of the bush and just landed it. And it 100% was any one of the A team. It was one of them. And I ended up losing it. It caught on the branches on the edge of the canopy and unhooked itself and got off. So, like, I'm fuming. I'm absolutely... You don't lose Yateley fish, and I'm devastated. I've lost one of the good ones there. So, I'm so annoyed. I put my head torch on, and I went, sod it, I don't care. And I put the boat back under there, lit it all up, dropped it off again, thinking, bad luck. Gone back to bed, I think 5 a.m, off again. And I've done the same again, mate.
No way.
Played another real big fish. Exactly. I don't know. I just.
You think they were original fish that you were hooking?
100%.
Were there many stockies in there then?
Not particularly. No.
Oh my God.
So I'm playing it in. I played it in again to the bush without realising that the lead's keeping them up in the water. It's just spindly branches hanging off. It just didn't dawn on me what I was doing, like, you know. And I've lost another fish now. I'm devastated. And to make things worse, the next morning Arthur was right down the very end of the lake in the corner sulking, and down in the secret or whatever they called it, down in the corner, definitely sulking. I definitely hooked Arthur. The other one could have been, who knows, pearly tail, heather, and I possibly lost dustbin as well. So that session could have possibly been.
That's a give-up carp fishing session.
Nearly did.
It? Well, I mean, you caught the orange, but
that ain't the end of it though. There's another story that comes after this. So I've had the big O. Probably 100% lost Arthur. More than likely could have 50-50 lost dustbin and one other, which could have been any of them, like, you know, baby O, pearly tail, any of them.
Well, they're all A-teamers, aren't they?
Yeah. So not thinking about it, I've gone the next session. I'm in waiting man's. I'm fishing in waiting man's, and you've got the little bay to your left and like the gate swim over there and the tree line. And as I walked down to have a look in the snags, I've seen baby O, and there's like a small fully scaled in there that come out. I can't remember the exact story, but it comes out of someone's tank, pineapple they call it.
Yeah.
It's got a little tiniest mouth.
That was big. Yeah.
Yeah. So although I'd still like to catch it, it's one of their
it was
one of the team, like, you know. Anyway, I'm watching them all leaves are coming up off the bottom. I thought, oh, they're well having it. So I've moved round into the gate, and I've got a rod. Just as you look across to the canopy, there's a little triangle in there. Just poked the black tiger nuts in there and a little bit of emp on the boat. I've just got one rod, and I'm sitting there reading something. It's just gone bang, whack round like that. I'm on it quick, and I managed to get the fish away from the canopy. The lead's come off, and it's gone steaming off left, all bubbles coming up where it's going through the weed beds, and it's just come off. I was like, oh, Christ, how many have I got to lose here? This is just getting stupid, like, you know. Went back round to the snags, and baby O's still there. So I've just lost pineapple. Little tiny mouth, I don't know, maybe it weren't hooked properly. So I've lost the pineapple. Absolutely devastated, like, you know. That's another one to my bad list. So I thought, I'll put the rod back out, baby O's around there. Stuck the rod out there. You know, not expecting it, it's gone, isn't it? And I've lifted into it, lead's come off, it's come up under the canopy. I had to go out on the boat for it, I lost it. So I literally lost everything in there and landed the big O in 2 sessions.
No.
I could have punched myself to pieces, mate. And it just wasn't. I never fished drop-off leads no more.
No, I don't.
It's just a time to use them, and it was a very costly mistake and a very costly learning thing. Like, you know, I more or less, in my opinion, hooked most of the A team in 2 sessions. Yeah, you could say, if not all of them.
Because how many were in there?
No, the original lot was 9, I think.
Yeah.
Like with Chunky and Single. When I was here, it's Pearly Tail, Dustbin, Arthur, Heather, Little Orange, Big Orange,
Uglo died,
Pineapple, and, you know.
Yeah.
Gutted. That's one of the.
And what did Heather die not long after that?
Yeah. Yeah. I was there when John Pack had it, and she took a long time to recover. He did catch her in the freezing cold. I'd actually seen it.
It came out a lot at that time of year, didn't it?
I see her up the trees. She used to, you know, she'd swim round with a bream. And I see it going round with the bream, like, you know, and John, being the good angler that he is, made, you know, good use of what knowledge he had of where she'd been, and he caught it. But I don't know if we were stood trying to nurse her for ages, and we was all getting a bit worried, but then a little tiny bubble come out the gill and the tail started going, and she was okay. And she went on to get caught again and that, and she was perfectly all right. She was just getting old, like, you know.
It was inevitable.
Yeah, I so wanted to catch that fish. I think I come close a couple of times over there. I mean, I baited spots and she got caught crapping my bait out. I fished a swim, but I'd been building it up for ages and couldn't get back. I think I went away on holiday and someone went in the next day and caught her. So I was close, you know. I may have lost her.
they like the methods you were using, and you were doing it right. It was just getting the bloody things in the net, wasn't it?
Got the bites, just couldn't land them.
Yeah, that was really sad. I mean, you know, when those fish started to go, it was.
I feel that's like Carthagena, you know. It's got the old fish in there like that. I have got backups coming through.
You've got to, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got some amazing carp in there coming through. real special fish. So hopefully I won't never lose that sort of.
Well, you need to blend the young fish with the old ones.
100%.
So by the time the old ones are gone, the new ones they're not new anymore, are they?
We don't put there's never an influx of a lot of fish. That seems to cause problems, just one here and there.
Yeah.
You know, I told you how we run it as a syndicate, the way we close it and all that. I told you, didn't I?
What, when they're spawning and stuff?
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to hear it again, but that's just what we do, and it tends to sort of. Well, all it is, we shut both lakes as and when they spawn. So when they spawn on whatever lake, we shut for 6 weeks, and then we'll open 6 weeks later from that date. We've got a Facebook page with just our members on it, so they get to know everything. And the first weekend after we close it, we have a work party. So if it's a Monday, the work party will be the following weekend. We post it all up, and we get the place looking absolutely immaculate. We get all the work done. We get a good turnout of work parties for both lakes, and we do a draw for swims on the Sunday. We finish the work party about 1 o'clock, do a draw for swims, and everyone goes in the draw if they want to fish that start. So you can go in a draw on the main lake and come out where you come and choose your swims accordingly. And that's their swim to do their first session on when we reopen on whatever date it falls on. And after that, they've got 5 weeks they're allowed to go over there and bait it. So both lakes, these fish now have spawned like crazy, and they don't just spawn once, they spawn 2 or 3 times sometimes. You know, you could close it for a couple of days and then open it again. They're spawning again. Why not just give them 6 weeks rest? Yeah. I don't personally like to fish for carp that are spawned out anyway. I always give, if whatever lake I'm on, I'll give them a good rest, you know, or I won't go back for a while. And these fish now are exhausted. A lot of them are old. The last thing they need is to be dragged up the bank. When we used to stay open years ago, we used to shut certain swims down, certain areas, but these fish swim out of them areas and go and get caught. And we had some real nice old linear. I had a lovely old linear in there called the pucker linear, twice a year fish. I see it get caught after spawning. It was a 31 pounder going back a lot of years, a beautiful carp. And it got caught, and then it got caught 3 or 4 days later, a lot lighter. And then the next thing, it got caught again. Next thing, I found it floating. And another guy had a common that he let go in a certain swim, and I found that dead the next day. He said I couldn't revive it. I went, we're just killing them. We're absolutely killing them. So I just thought from now on, we shut the lakes. They have 5 weeks of all the anglers coming down feeding both lakes for me. They don't have to just eat bait. There's an abundance of natural food in there. They can live on the weed beds and the snails and bloodworm, or whatever they want to live on, and they can accompany their diet with angler's bait. And this gets their strength back quick. It rebuilds them. You know, they get some. They're not that good, are they? After spawning, they're quite weak, especially in some of the fights you get with them. They're knackered, aren't they? And then basically we keep it shut for 6 weeks, let them feed them, and then on the opening day we have a lovely big barbecue and a big social. I let them cast that just before last light, and big firework goes off, and it's a good atmosphere. It's just like June the 16th.
Yeah, I bet. No, it's good. And like you say, it's having the mindset to sort of run a fishery like that. I like what you do on Brook Lake as well. It's a good way of seeing what anglers are. They come and fish Brook Lake first before they fish the main lake.
And we do. I get a lot of people asking how to join, and what we do winter tickets on both lakes. They come and get a winter ticket. That way we get to see if we like them, and they get the choice of joining the following year. So that anyone that wants to join can't really join unless they've had a winter ticket. So the good thing about winter tickets is we get anglers on the bank winter, whereas a lot of times you don't. You don't always, but it might put anglers on the bank that are keen enough to fish through the winter that might catch 1 or 2 nice surprise big uns, which we don't get to see during them months, and a bit of bait still goes in. And that was my method behind it.
Well, it's working at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to have to wrap things up soon, Jerry, but I reckon I could have done another 3 hours easily.
I could do 3 hours, no problem,
God.
mate.
This is so, you are so easy to talk to, and there's loads. I was going to say, so you're fishing now, do you want to talk about the lake or where you're fishing now, or do you want to keep that to yourself?
You can.
No, we won't. But you've got a fish that you want to catch.
There's still so many things about my fishing at Vinnetrow and all the lakes I've fished. We've not even touched them. My good mate Jim Epper that I fish with, I've got loads of stories with him.
That was a lovely story with Jim, and it shows that there is still humanity in carp fishing.
He's a great bloke, mate. Great angler and a great friend.
Yeah. I know when you said you turned up on the lake one day and you were baiting a swim, and
I'd first I knew Jim, but this is when I first kind of realised what sort of guy he was. I was fishing on Vinnetrow, and there's a point swim, and you've got the middle point, and then there's a swim to the right, which I'd been fishing. I'd really got it buzzing, that swim. I'd been working it. I'd had a couple of nice fish up to 40, and Jim's as keen as mustard, and he gets down the same days as me. I get down on a Monday morning, so does he. But one thing he would do is get there before you, no matter what. And I've turned up, see his van, and I just thought, I've got a feeling I know where he is. And as I'm walking round, fingers crossed, with the barra, walking round, I'm thinking he's going to be in that swim. And I got round there, and he's in the middle point, and he went, "Morning, fella, your swim awaits you." And I thought, brilliant. How good's that? What a gentleman. He said, "I know you've been working that, mate." He said, "I wouldn't jump on that." He said, "Who do you think I am? I'm old school." And he is. He's a proper legend.
And you caught that big Half-Lin. It was, what, 51 pounds?
54, something.
Oh, sorry to do you.
Not shy of 55, something like that.
Right, okay. And then Jim caught it afterwards as well. So
the first year I caught it first. We basically fished together over there, bounced off of each other. Jim's caught more big fish than most people I know in angling. He's very underground. He's had a hell of a lot of 40s, and he's had a couple of 60s as well, I think. And he's a phenomenal angler. Good friends with Uchi back in the day. He was at Cassim with him. There's so many stories about Jim. But yeah, I got to know him and fished with him over on Vinny. We kind of bounced off of each other, fishing the same times each week. We caught everything between us, but I caught the big one first and moved off. And he stayed on and caught it second. But between us, we had everything. And then we moved on other lakes and done the same thing. So.
Yeah, it's good that he gets his dues as well.
Of course.
And good, like you say, good angler who's been around.
Yeah, I learned a lot from Jim. He's been around a long time.
Yeah, fair play. Jerry, you might have to come back on the podcast again at some point.
Love to, mate.
I mean, we could, like I say, your book as well. You've still got some copies of this left.
Yeah, Empress got copies of that.
Catching Memories, if anyone's interested in it. If you want to hear any more stories about Jerry's
there's loads
fishing.
more stories, all written on the bank.
Yeah, no, it's a nice, easy read.
Yeah,
and,
good. I'm glad you enjoyed
some good
it.
stuff in there.
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Been amazing. Loved it. Thank you very much.
Good. Thanks very much, Jerry.
You're welcome.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.